After the Thanksgiving break ended, universities across the country gradually started classes again. Michael Thompson had expected this period to be his busiest due to the upcoming National Young Artist Competition. However, since he had already prepared his entry during the Thanksgiving break, he suddenly found himself with a lot less pressure. Not only that, but Howard Banks had also given him a rare few days off, meaning he didn't even have the usual private lessons after returning home recently. As a result, he was enjoying an unusual amount of free time. Still, classes were classes, and Michael Thompson had no intention of skipping. He attended diligently every day and occasionally hung out with a few of his closer college friends. While Michael was having a relaxed time, things weren't so easy for Olivia Sullivan. Elite Education Group had officially launched its university student part-time tutoring project. Campus representatives at various universities had been selected, and it was now time to address the bet they had made with Leon, their senior from Elite Education Group. The mobile app Michael Thompson had commissioned from that MIT student named Henry was finished. Although Henry might be a bit of a scoundrel, he was efficient and capable when paid, and Michael was quite satisfied with the app he'd built. He and Henry had also agreed that Henry would handle future updates and maintenance for the app, receiving a monthly salary of $500. While $1,500 didn't sound like much, it was enough for Henry's internet and living expenses, so he readily accepted. However, even though the app was ready, it couldn't be put into use immediately. The main issue lay with Olivia Sullivan and Claire Evans. Over at Boston Teachers College, Claire Evans and Jake Wilson were working together. They were making decent progress, having secured support from the university's student entrepreneurship program. This allowed them to post small ads on bulletin boards across different departments, and they even got sponsorship spots at various campus events. The only snag was getting an Inform app download link. The university administration was reluctant to allow pinned advertising posts on the official campus forums. Michael had spoken with Jake Wilson on the phone occasionally these past few days and heard him complain about it. The chubby guy and Claire had apparently spent a lot of time running back and forth between the student union and the IT department to try to sweet-talk the staff there into approving it. Michael couldn't do much to help with that. Whether they succeeded ultimately depended on their own abilities. Although the campus forum issue wasn't resolved yet, Claire and Jake had managed to recruit some fellow students for the part-time tutoring jobs using bulletin board ads, flyers, and banners. After all, compared to other part-time job agencies, Elite Education Group was investing heavily to build its reputation and establish a foothold in this market. They offered significant advantages, waived deposits, a higher commission split for tutors, and even allowing training fees to be paid back in installments after earning money. So, Claire and Jake's progress at Boston Teachers College was actually pretty good. In contrast, Olivia Sullivan seemed to have made virtually no progress at all. Michael Thompson had specifically gone over to Harvard University to check. Forget online promotion. He hadn't seen a single Elite Education Group flyer anywhere on campus. It was as if Olivia Sullivan hadn't done anything, not even causing a ripple. Michael couldn't figure out what his girlfriend was up to. Every time he asked, Olivia would just hem and haw, refusing to give straight answer. She seemed extremely busy after returning to school, though Michael had only seen her once since the end of Thanksgiving break. This made Michael wonder if Olivia wasn't secretly planning some big move. What am I even doing? Right then, in a nursing home in Boston, Olivia Sullivan, who was busy cleaning, clutched her head, lost in frustration. She was here today for a volunteer event. Because the department couldn't gather enough people, they required everyone in the work-study program to participate. As a result, she had somehow just tagged along and had been cleaning since morning. Olivia Sullivan suddenly realized this couldn't continue. Seeing Claire Evans making smooth progress, even securing an abandoned classroom from the university as office space, while she herself had made zero headway. "Olivia, we're about done here. You can head back," a fellow student called out from nearby. Olivia Sullivan put down her broom and replied, "Got it." She returned the cleaning tools to their proper places, then queued up to receive her $70 to $80 for the day. On the school bus back to campus, she clutched the cash, her pretty face scrunched up in distress. This can't go on. Olivia Sullivan decided she needed to have a serious talk with Laura when she got back. After the long trip from the suburban nursing home back to the university, Olivia Sullivan headed straight for the IT department to find Professor Laura. When she reached the office, Laura was at her desk, phone pressed to her ear, resting her forehead in her hand, looking rather anxious. However, upon seeing Olivia Sullivan arrive, Laura smiled and nodded at her, covering the receiver to whisper, "Give me a moment." Olivia Sullivan nodded and obediently sat on the nearby sofa to wait. The two were already quite familiar. Olivia often helped Laura out, and Laura was fond of the cute, slightly shy girl. Once Laura finished her call, she let out a long sigh and smiled at Olivia Sullivan. "Olivia, perfect timing. Help me out with something, and I'll treat you to dinner tonight." Laura still assumed Olivia was from a less well-off family, so she often used the pretext of needing help to treat Olivia to a meal, a personal gesture of goodwill. Olivia Sullivan had arrived with a lot on her mind, but hearing Laura ask for help, she had to swallow her words for now and pitch in first. "Could you type up a copy of these documents for me?" Laura had Olivia sit at the adjacent workstation, helped her log into the computer, and handed her a document. It wasn't thick, just 2 pages. Olivia Sullivan glanced at the content and let out a soft, "Huh?" Laura asked curiously, "What is it?" "This." She held up the document, asking Laura, "Is this for an anti-scam campaign?" The document Laura had given her was copy for a fraud prevention notice, mostly detailing cases of university students being scammed through part-time jobs, which caught Olivia Sullivan's attention. Laura gave a wry smile. "Yes, we've had several incidents of students being scammed over the past few months." "How are they getting scammed?" "Right now, some unscrupulous job platforms advertise high-paying part-time positions. But when you actually go, they make you pay a deposit or training fees, basically finding ways to get money from you first. Then they tell you to go home and wait for news. Some might offer you a bit of work, but it's usually stuff like handing out flyers or doing manual labor in workshops, and they still take a huge cut." Laura grumbled. "You'd think students admitted to Harvard University would be smart enough. Their brains definitely work fine. So how do they fall for these things so easily? Typing 1,000 words for $200? Where would you find such a good deal? Even writing articles for magazines doesn't pay that much per 1,000 words." She sighed. "The main issue is that some of the students getting scammed are the ones who don't come from well-off families. It can't be helped. The work-study program really doesn't pay much. Many of our students try to find outside part-time jobs and end up getting tricked." It was a rather helpless situation. Although the university wanted to support students from less privileged backgrounds by offering work-study positions, in reality, most campus jobs were already filled by regular employees. The university didn't genuinely need students for these tasks. It was essentially giving out money to subsidize students, so naturally, the pay couldn't be great. This led to a situation where even students facing financial hardship at Harvard were reluctant to take on work-study jobs. While government financial aid programs ensured that any student admitted to Harvard could complete their degree regardless of family finances, it was perfectly normal for students to want a part-time job to improve their quality of life. This created an opening for those unscrupulous job platforms to exploit. Laura was swamped because of this issue. She had to work overtime tonight preparing a PowerPoint presentation and find an advertising shop tomorrow to get information boards made, adding a lot of extra work to her plate. The really tricky part is that this involves students needing financial aid. The university is considering contacting some successful alumni to help create part-time job opportunities for these students, but that's also quite difficult. Not many people are willing to take this on. Normally, Laura wouldn't discuss such matters with a student, but she did tend to see Olivia Sullivan as being connected lit, like one of the Thompson family. She wasn't expecting Olivia to offer any solutions. Frankly, she was just venting. But after listening quietly, Olivia Sullivan spoke, as if she had made up her mind. "Professor, if there were a reliable platform for part-time jobs, wouldn't that solve the problem?" Laura thought for a moment, then said diplomatically, "That's not the main issue. The problem is, it's difficult for the university to get directly involved. No one wants to volunteer to take responsibility for it." Olivia Sullivan understood what Laura meant. Recently, there have been news reports about administrators at some university taking large kickbacks from factories and forcing graduating students into internships there, essentially supplying cheap labor. Something like that could never happen at Harvard. As one of the world's top universities, it cherished its reputation far too much. Consequently, anyone who took charge of this job initiative might be falsely accused of taking money from those job platforms. Olivia Sullivan said, "Then, what if it were student-led?" "A student. Could I do it?" Olivia Sullivan finally mustered the courage to ask. Laura looked at her, momentarily astonished. Realizing this was a good opportunity, Olivia Sullivan proactively added, "If the university is willing to offer some support, I think I can take the lead on this." That evening, Michael Thompson received an incredibly excited phone call from Olivia Sullivan. "Michael Thompson. Michael Thompson. Listen, I did it." "What?" "The campus forum thing. I handled it." Michael could picture Olivia's thrilled expression just from her voice. He was a bit surprised. Had his girlfriend really been cooking up something big after being quiet for so long? He quickly asked, "How did you do it?" It's complicated. Hard to explain over the phone. Can we meet up and talk?" Actually, it wasn't impossible to explain over the phone, but Olivia wanted to see Michael. She only just realized she hadn't seen him at all since coming back to school after the Thanksgiving break. Being shy, however, she couldn't bring herself to admit it and hesitantly started making excuses. And besides, I think today calls for a celebration. Let's go get something good to eat. Hearing the uncomfortable edge as her voice rose a few pitches, Michael knew exactly what she was thinking. He chuckled. All right. How about beef stew? The weather's gotten cold. It's perfect for that. Okay, I'll come find you. No need. Just wait for me downstairs at your dorm. I'll pick you up. Inside a Harvard University women's dormitory, Olivia hung up with Michael, happily preparing to go out for dinner. Her roommate, Laura Gibson, the dorm leader, saw her beaming expression and teased. Talking to your boyfriend? Olivia immediately flushed with embarrassment. Another roommate, Wendy, chimed in from the side. Olivia, isn't your boyfriend super rich? Why do you still need to do the work-study program? He's willing to buy you such expensive cosmetics. At these words, Olivia's face instantly stiffened. A while back, her roommates had seen her serving food at the snack shop counter. At the time, she'd been so mortified she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Afterwards, her roommates had tacitly agreed not to mention it, pretending it never happened, which left Olivia, who had wanted to explain, unsure how to even bring it up. She thought the incident was forgotten, but she never expected Wendy to bring it up now. In the women's dorm, relationships were often complicated. Olivia's dorm was relatively better. At least things seemed harmonious on the surface. But in reality, things weren't that great. The most difficult person in their dorm was Wendy. This slightly overweight girl was extremely vain, loved comparing herself to others, and, when jealousy struck, enjoyed gossiping behind people's backs. Wendy came from a fairly well-off family and was a Boston local, giving her a sense of superiority over her other roommates. But unfortunately for her, there was Olivia Sullivan in the same dorm. Olivia wasn't flashy, but she wasn't the type to pretend to be poor either. The cosmetics and skincare products she used were expensive, and her bags were designer brands. Wanting to get along well with her roommates, she often generously gifted some items to them. In Wendy's eyes, this looked suspiciously like showing off. Most importantly, Olivia was stunningly beautiful. Whenever the dorm residents went out to eat or to class together, the boys' gazes invariably landed on Olivia, leaving the others feeling like mere background decoration. Wendy had mostly kept her resentment bottled up, but seeing Olivia serving food at the snack shop counter that one time had truly energized her. What did that mean? It meant Olivia was just putting up a rich front. Maybe her family was dirt poor, yet she used those pricey skincare products and designer bags. Plus, she was gorgeous. Wasn't it obvious she was being kept by someone? It was a pity her boyfriend was a handsome guy her own age and not some middle-aged man. Otherwise, it would have made for much juicier gossip. Although Wendy hadn't said anything at the time, she hadn't held back from spreading this kind of gossip behind Olivia's back recently. Now, the rumor that Olivia was being kept was circulating throughout their entire class. Olivia, however, had been busy with her part-time job lately. Besides her roommates, she didn't have many friends in her classes. She always just listened attentively during lectures and left immediately after. She only ever checked the class group chat for notifications, never reading the students' idle chatter. So, she was completely unaware of the situation. Caught off guard by Wendy's comment, Olivia's face flushed red. She mumbled defensively, "Teach, those are things I bought myself." "Oh, does the work-study program pay that well now?" "If I'd known, I would have signed up too," Wendy said deliberately loudly. She didn't know what got into her today. Perhaps seeing Olivia happily dressing up to meet her boyfriend had annoyed her. Laura Gibson didn't look too pleased either. As a class officer, she knew Wendy often made snarky, passive-aggressive remarks about Olivia behind her back, but she hadn't expected Wendy to say it to Olivia's face. Nearby, Linda Carter, who had a more direct personality, couldn't stand it anymore and snapped, "Fat pig, are you sick in the head?" Wendy was most sensitive about her weight and immediately flared up. "Who are you calling a fat pig?" "Whoever answers, that's who I'm talking to." Linda Carter defended Olivia. "Have you got nothing better to do? What Olivia does is her business. How does it concern you?" Wendy slammed her hand on the table, furious. "Did I say anything wrong? I was just curious and asked. Besides, I was talking to Olivia. What's it got to do with you? I just can't stand watching you. Don't you know what you say behind people's backs? You just can't stand seeing others do well, can you?" "Me? Can't stand seeing others do well." Wendy laughed scornfully. "How well can she be doing if she has to serve food in a snack shop? Why would I be jealous of her?" Laura Gibson could only try to mediate. Okay, stop arguing. Both of you just drop it." She reached out to pull Wendy away, but Wendy violently shook her hand off. Stop pretending to be the nice guy. Laura Gibson's face immediately darkened, unsure what to do. Strange, why isn't she here yet? Michael Thompson had driven his car onto the Harvard campus and parked outside the women's dormitory, waiting for quite a while. Having visited Harvard frequently, he'd become familiar with the guards at the entrance. After slipping the guard on duty a carton of cigarettes, his car was allowed direct access onto the campus grounds from then on. He waited in the car for a good while longer, but there was still no sign of Olivia Sullivan. He got out and waited by the entrance steps for a bit more. Passing female students would occasionally glance curiously at Michael Thompson sitting on the steps, sometimes covering their mouths and giggling as they walked by. Michael Thompson paid them no mind, though he did give the pretty girls with long legs a second glance, silently making comments in his head. The quality of girls at Harvard isn't bad. Just as he was admiring the legs, Olivia Sullivan emerged from the dormitory entrance. He quickly stood up, pretending he hadn't been looking at anything. But what greeted him wasn't Olivia's usual big hug, nor playfully chiding him for looking at other girls. Instead, she didn't say a word, just kept her head down, pulled open the car door and got in. What's wrong? She doesn't seem to be in a good mood, Michael thought, baffled. He followed her into the car and sat down in the driver's seat. Michael Thompson slid into the driver's seat, pretending not to notice anything amiss. That beef stew place is a bit far, he said, fastening his seatbelt. Are you hungry? Want to grab a quick bite from that street behind campus first. But after a moment, there was no reply from Olivia Sullivan. He turned his head and saw her looking down, hands clenched tightly in her lap. Her small mouth was set stubbornly, and a mist had formed in her beautiful eyes. Tears began to fall, pattering down her cheeks. Back in the dormitory, she had held back her grievances, refusing to cry. But now, next to Michael Thompson, she couldn't hold back anymore. What's wrong? Look at my Olivia, crying like a little kitten. Michael Thompson gently stroked her cheek, wiping away her tears before pulling a few tissues from the console and pressing them in her hand. Woo! Olivia Sullivan took the tissues, sniffled, took a deep breath, and looked up at Michael Thompson, her tear-filled eyes brimming with hurt. Michael Thompson couldn't understand what had happened. Just a short while ago, when they spoke on the phone, Olivia had been cheerful, demanding he take her out for delicious food. He thought for a moment, is it trouble with the part-time job? It's okay, worst case, we just quit. It's not a big deal. My Olivia just needs to be happy and pretty. I've got your back. Michael, I don't want to live in the dorm anymore, Olivia Sullivan said pitifully. Did she have a fight with her roommates? Although Michael Thompson didn't know the specifics, he could guess the general nature of the problem. His eyes instantly lit up. He had long wanted to persuade Olivia Sullivan to move out and live with him, but she had always refused, so he decided to bide his time and take it slow. But now, this was a golden opportunity. Moving out. Sound good? Harvard University is great in every way, except the dorms are too rundown. I've disliked them for ages. How can I let my girlfriend live in a place like that? Michael Thompson agreed with feigned indignation. Move. We'll move today. I'll find you an apartment. He was, of course, lying through his teeth. The Harvard University dormitory buildings had been renovated just the year before last, and the living conditions were considered quite good among Boston universities. Emily Thompson had it much worse. 6 people to a room, no loft beds with desks underneath, just a long table in the center of the room for computers and things. Olivia Sullivan knew what Michael Thompson was thinking. Wiping her tears, she said, I'll live alone. I can help with the rent, you know. Boston rent is pretty expensive. Olivia turned her face away, ignoring him. Michael Thompson rubbed his nose awkwardly. Still, getting Olivia to move out was a success. The first step, he decided to shelve the topic for now. All right. I'm taking my Olivia out for something delicious. Let's not think about unhappy things for now, okay? In a beef stew restaurant on Main Street in Boston's Central Commercial District, the slow cooker bubbled away, sending fragrant steam curling into the air, incredibly tempting. Seeing the delicious food, Olivia Sullivan's spirits finally began to lift. She took small bites of the tender beef stew. Noticing Michael Thompson across from her staring down at his phone, chopsticks untouched, she proactively picked up a piece of meat for him. Why aren't you eating? Just watching my Olivia eat is enough to make me feel full. You're a feast for the eyes, after all. Stop teasing. All right. Actually, I'm helping you look for apartments. Need to be close to school and close to me. Michael Thompson showed her his phone screen briefly. It indeed displayed rental listings. A shy smile appeared on Olivia Sullivan's face. It really was nice to have a reliable boyfriend. But as soon as Michael Thompson took his phone back, he immediately switched apps, tapping Open Messenger. He was actually chatting with someone else, a girl who wasn't his girlfriend. So, it was that heavy girl causing trouble? You're really blunt, calling her that directly. Why should I be polite? She bullied my girlfriend. Although Michael Thompson had asked Olivia what grievances she had suffered in the dormitory, Olivia knew his temper and had mumbled evasively, refusing to say. Michael had no choice but to ask someone else. When he had first dropped Olivia off at the dormitory, he had exchanged contact information with Laura Gibson. Although it had made Olivia a little jealous at the time, he had managed to keep the contact. Laura Gibson had already explained everything to Michael Thompson, also letting him know that Olivia had recently started a work-study program. The first thought that popped into Michael's head upon learning his girlfriend was working as a cafeteria lady Aunt Daisy was, damn it, I missed out. If I'd known earlier, I would have gone to the Harvard cafeteria to eat. I could have seen Olivia in a white apron serving me food herself. Then he found it quite puzzling. Wasn't Olivia busy with the campus agent business recently? Why had she suddenly taken up a work-study job? To experience life? That wasn't the way to do it. Shouldn't work-study spots be left for students who actually needed them? Could the Sullivan family be going bankrupt? He hadn't heard anything. Although Michael couldn't quite grasp Olivia's thinking, considering she had handled the campus website issue. Maybe this was some unique strategy? None of that really mattered. The main issue was this girl named Wendy. Michael usually considered himself pretty even-tempered, but he could be quite petty about certain things. The things that made him petty were related to his family, and anything concerning Olivia Sullivan. Laura Gibson had told Michael everything. He couldn't possibly remain indifferent knowing someone in his girlfriend's class was spreading rumors about her being sponsored. Michael Thompson glanced at Olivia Sullivan, who was engrossed in eating her beef stew, holding a piece with both hands, her cheeks puffed out adorably. She looked up and blinked questioningly at him. Indeed, she made him want to just carry her home and keep her. Though if truth be told, it was actually Olivia who wanted to sponsor him. After all, she had vowed to work hard in the future to support Michael Thompson, letting him pursue whatever he loved, and had even taken practical action by forcefully stuffing a Bank of America card containing all her private savings into his hand. Michael Thompson put down his phone, crossed his arms, and closed his eyes, thinking about how to handle this. Suddenly, his arm was poked gently. He opened his eyes to see Olivia Sullivan poking his arm with a chopstick, looking at him with puffed cheeks. What's wrong? You look like you're plotting something. No bad deeds allowed. Michael Thompson couldn't help but smile, thinking inwardly, Olivia really is a mind reader. Sometimes he felt like she could see right through him. What bad intentions could I possibly have? My mom always praises me. This kid's been honest since he was little, he said righteously, only to be met with Olivia Sullivan's suspicious gaze. After that, Olivia Sullivan didn't bring up the dormitory issue again, focusing instead on how she'd managed to secure the advertising slot on the campus forum. Basically, the university said that if we could help solve the issue of placements for students needing financial aid, they could offer us some support. Things like ad space on the campus forum, a venue for workshops, and space on the bulletin boards are all possible. Olivia Sullivan was beaming when she talked about it. This was the first time she had successfully persuaded the faculty and secured an opportunity through her own efforts. However, after hearing the whole story, Michael Thompson threw a bucket of cold water on her enthusiasm. I have a few questions. Olivia's face turned serious. Mr. Thompson, please ask. Her deliberately formal manner made Michael Thompson chuckle despite himself. Ahem. He cleared his throat twice, suppressed his smile, and began his analysis seriously. First, how will you convince the university that your part-time job platform is different from other predatory ones? Olivia quickly replied, Elite Education Group. Claire Evans and I looked into it thoroughly. They're not some scam company. Michael Thompson shook his head. Regardless, the purpose of starting a company is to make a profit. The only difference between a legitimate company and a predatory one is how much they squeeze out of the people below them. Besides, don't just trust others unconditionally. Even if Leon is involved with Elite Education Group, believe me, there are far more people in this world looking to stab you in the back than wanting to help you. Olivia gave him a strange look. What about you then? Should I not trust you either? Huh? Am I an outsider? Michael Thompson retorted, annoyed, tapping her lightly between the eyebrows. I'm family. Olivia covered her mouth and giggled. Be serious. We're talking business, Michael Thompson said sternly, putting on a straight face. Olivia immediately placed both hands properly on her lap, adopting the posture of an eager student. So how do we solve this? When you talk to the university, don't mention Elite Education Group. Michael Thompson began to instruct her. Phrase it differently. Say that you, in order to solve the university's problem of part-time jobs for students in need, have already been in talks with a lead education group. But isn't that basically the same thing? No, you can't let the university think you're representing elite education group, approaching them solely for profit. Instead, you need to frame it as you taking the initiative to contact elite education group to solve the university's problem. Michael Thompson placed his hands on the table and tapped it gently. Positioning is crucial. Olivia hesitated. But we are acting as their campus agent. We can't really hide that, can we? You can, Michael Thompson said firmly. Seeing Olivia's confused expression, he took out his phone and opened an app. This is an app one had someone develop earlier. Its functions are quite basic right now, and it can't be listed on app stores, but it should be sufficient for now. Michael Thompson showed it to her while explaining, I named it TaskRabbit. Don't look at me like that. If you think the name's lame, you can come up with another one yourself. It sounds nice, Olivia Sullivan said obediently, though not entirely sincerely. Please continue. When promoting on campus, just promote our brand. Our slogan should be that while we are currently collaborating mainly with a lead education group, we plan to partner with more platforms in the future. Michael Thompson started instilling some concepts in Olivia. So, when you talk to the university administration, don't position yourself as a subordinate of elite education group. Position yourself as a relatively equal partner. Assert your independence. Got it. Olivia seemed to understand, but not completely. She was still a bit muddled. Michael Thompson continued. Furthermore, you need to reframe this from a business to a public service initiative. Our purpose in creating this platform isn't primarily to make money, but to help the university solve the problem of students needing financial aid, allowing them to become self-sufficient. Therefore, we won't be taking a single cent of profit from it. Olivia, having a good memory, raised her hand. But didn't you previously say not to arbitrarily increase the commission rates for the students? Correct. The rates set by Elite Education Group remain unchanged. However, when we prepare the financial statements for the university, we can report zero profitability. Wait. That was a lot for Olivia to process at once. She frowned, thinking hard for a long moment, then said hesitantly, I don't understand. Why do we need to provide financial statements to the university? Because we need to position ourselves as being on the university's side. Even so, wouldn't reporting zero profit be falsifying records? No, it's not falsifying, Michael Thompson smiled. The money we earn will be used for other purposes. It will be returned to the students in a rather special way. Forget making money. We might even end up putting in quite a bit of our own. Olivia was slightly dumbfounded. Michael Thompson pinched her small nose playfully and smiled. Don't focus on small, immediate gains. Investment is necessary to earn more later. Anyway, just keep this in mind for now. I'll explain it when we get to that stage. Olivia nodded. Oh, these are actually things to consider later. The immediate priority is getting past that meeting with the university administration. Michael Thompson continued his coaching. Most importantly, how will you concretely implement the solution to the students' financial problems? What positive impact will this have on the university? What are the potential negative impacts? You understand the principle of highlighting strengths and mitigating weaknesses, right? The meal lasted a long time. For the first time, Olivia truly realized that Michael Thompson was far more than just an artist. It was no wonder her future husband had been known in his past life as the artist reeking of commerce and the most artistic businessman. He meticulously coached Olivia on how to handle potential questions from the ivory tower academics and told her how to respond differently based on elite education groups' potential reactions if they caught wind of things. He even enthusiastically offered to write a speech for Olivia, suggesting she memorize it for her meeting with the university administration the next day. Before this, Olivia had naively assumed that since the university had shown interest, things would go smoothly. But after Michael Thompson's breakdown, she felt she hadn't considered nearly enough. It seemed that in this world, even things that appeared to be a sure thing might just be a result of one's own limited, narrow perspective. There were so many hidden complexities. She truly didn't know how Michael Thompson's brain worked, seeming to understand everything. However, Olivia was still very happy. Having Michael Thompson by her side was truly the best. It was 11 o'clock at night. The last few customers at the beef stew place were trickling out, and the owner was getting ready to close up shop. Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan had no choice but to settle their bill and leave. They walked side by side down Main Street toward the parking lot. It was mid-October now. Boston still had a touch of Indian summer lingering during the day, but once night fell, the temperature dropped sharply. An evening breeze swept past, rustling the leaves on the roadside trees. Olivia Sullivan had dressed up nicely today, and her clothes were a little thin. She hadn't felt the cold when they left the restaurant, but now the wind made her shiver and hunch her shoulders. She edged closer to Michael Thompson, wanting to take his hand, but feeling too shy. Ahem. She coughed twice deliberately. When Michael Thompson looked over, she quickly pretended to be nonchalantly admiring the street view. Michael Thompson took her hand and tucked it into his own pocket. Olivia Sullivan tried hard to suppress a smile, her whole expression brightening. They walked the rest of the way to the parking lot like that. As Michael Thompson reached for the car door handle, he suddenly remembered something. "Oh, right? Are you heading back to your dorm tonight?" Olivia Sullivan pouted and shook her head. "Did you bring your ID then? What are you planning?" Olivia Sullivan bared her small canines playfully, looking at Michael Thompson warily. Michael Thompson looked bewildered. "To find a hotel for you, of course. Unless you want to come to Samuel Shaw's place." "Could I?" Olivia didn't really want to stay in a hotel, but she was worried about bothering Howard Banks, so she asked tentatively. "Let me call and ask." Michael Thompson took out his phone and dialed the landline at Samuel Shaw's house. He figured Samuel Shaw and Elizabeth Shaw would already be asleep at this hour. He let it ring for a bit, then claimed no one picked up, that they must be sleeping, meaning they'd have to get a hotel. Plan perfect. Unfortunately for Michael Thompson, while his idea was clever, Howard Banks seemed to be up later than usual tonight. The call actually connected. "Hello, when are you getting back? Do you know what time it is?" Hearing Howard Banks's voice on the line, Michael Thompson's expression froze. Samuel Shaw, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Why don't you understand that simple truth? His mind raced, and his expression suddenly changed. "What? Samuel Shaw, you and Elizabeth Shaw went out today?" On the other end, Howard Banks sounded baffled. "We didn't go out. I was just about to go to sleep. So no one's home tonight, huh? Shoot. And I don't have my key," Michael Thompson said deliberately loudly, sneaking a glance at Olivia Sullivan's reaction. Howard Banks sounded even more confused. "I just told you I'm home. You don't have a key? You wanted to leave the door unlocked." "Samuel Shaw, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll just crash at a hotel overnight." "Olivia's there with you, isn't she? You just don't want to come back tonight, is that it?" Howard Banks wasn't stupid. He'd figured it out now and sounded rather exasperated. Michael Thompson coughed awkwardly twice. "Samuel Shaw, gotta go. I'm hanging up now. You get some rest, okay?" He didn't give Howard Banks a chance to reply before hanging up. Then he turned to Olivia Sullivan, his face a mask of regret. "What rotten luck. My hosts, Samuel Shaw and Elizabeth Shaw, aren't home tonight, and I don't have my key, so it looks like we have to stay out." Olivia Sullivan said nothing, but her fists clenched tightly. Michael Thompson remained oblivious, grinning almost ear to ear. "Well, looks like we have no choice. Luckily, I happen to have a discount coupon for a hotel, 20% off a king-size bed." He trailed off. "Hey, what are you doing? No biting." In the end, even though Olivia Sullivan knew perfectly well Michael Thompson was telling bald-faced lies, she resigned herself to the fact that they'd be staying in a hotel tonight. Michael Thompson, however, had to face the consequences. Olivia gave him the silent treatment the entire drive to the University District. When they got out of the car, she trailed behind him, sulking silently. Michael Thompson suddenly stopped and crouched down, his back to her. "Come on, I'll carry you." "What for? Those shoes you're wearing today, they aren't comfortable, are they?" Michael Thompson gestured towards her feet with his chin. "Weren't these the same shoes you wore when you came to my place over Thanksgiving break? The ones that gave you blisters?" Olivia Sullivan shifted her feet uncomfortably. She hadn't expected Michael Thompson to pay such close attention. The shoes were uncomfortable, but she loved the style and hadn't expected they'd be doing much walking today, so she'd worn them anyway. They were definitely starting to pinch now. She was about to refuse the piggyback ride, but before she could speak, Michael Thompson teased. Or would Ms. Sullivan prefer to be carried princess style? She had no choice but to obediently let Michael Thompson carry her. Leaning against his broad shoulders, she looked up at the back of his head and couldn't resist reaching out to gently stroke his hair. Michael Thompson felt her gentle touch and tilted his head slightly to avoid her hand. "You can be mad at me," he said, "but no pulling hair, okay? If I go bald because of you, you'll be the one losing out." Olivia Sullivan burst out laughing with a puffed sound. She tightened her arms around Michael Thompson's shoulders and pressed her cheek against the side of his face. "Well, whose fault is it for always thinking about those kinds of things, you big rascal? So, if I go bald, will you still want me?" "Oomph. By then, nobody else will want you." Only I will be left to take pity on you. No, I think I'd still be pretty handsome even if I were bald. I bet some younger girls would still like me. No way. Only I get to want you. All right then, while I still have my hair. Even with hair, only I get to want you. So bossy. Michael Thompson smacked his lips playfully. But I like it. Olivia Sullivan laughed and affectionately rubbed her cheek harder against his, an incredibly intimate gesture. Once they reached the hotel, Michael Thompson told Olivia Sullivan to wait by the entrance while he went inside to check the situation. Standing by the entrance, Olivia Sullivan watched through the glass of the hotel's revolving door as Michael Thompson discreetly slipped some money to the front desk clerk. When she entered the lobby, the front desk clerk looked at her apologetically and said, "I'm very sorry, miss, but we only have one room left, and it's a king-size bed." Olivia Sullivan. I knew it. Olivia Sullivan narrowed her eyes at Michael Thompson, who guiltily averted his gaze. Michael Thompson, Olivia said sweetly, "Is there anything you'd like to say?" "Such bad luck, really," he said, then suggested, "Maybe we could just make do." He nodded with a serious expression. "Actually, this might be for the best. There are still some things I wanted to discuss from dinner. Plus, tonight I can help you finish that PowerPoint for tomorrow. Oh, and about that presentation script, are you sure you don't want to reconsider?" He rattled on, piling one thing onto another, almost managing to bluff his way through. If Olivia Sullivan hadn't been able to hear Michael Thompson's inner thoughts, she might have actually fallen for it. However, Olivia Sullivan felt conflicted. On the one hand, things felt like they were moving too fast. They hadn't even been officially dating for half a year yet. But on the other hand, she was certain that Michael Thompson was her future other half, that there would never be anyone else. Besides, they had already met each other's parents and had even agreed to get married right after college graduation. Looked at that way, maybe it wasn't completely out of the question. Olivia Sullivan was still wrestling with the decision. But before she knew it, she found herself standing in the hotel room they'd booked. Olivia Sullivan. When did I even pull out my ID? Michael Thompson walked in nonchalantly and sat down on the sofa. Want to shower first? Shower. Olivia Sullivan's face flushed instantly, especially since she could now hear some of Michael Thompson's distinctly not safe for work inner thoughts. "Michael Thompson, I don't think I'm ready yet," she stammered, her voice cracking with nervousness. Michael Thompson watched her as she lowered her head, murmuring indistinctly, her hands nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. He asked, "Want to open a bottle of red wine, then? This hotel is pretty upscale. They should have some in the minibar." "No, that's not it. Then I'll go first." Olivia Sullivan took a deep breath. She suspected Michael Thompson knew exactly what was going on, but was playing dumb. Still, thinking about it, things between them had progressed naturally to this point, and Michael Thompson was truly devoted to her. Finally, as if stealing her resolve, she said, "Okay, fine. I'll shower first." Michael Thompson watched her disappear into the bathroom, a smile touching his lips. He then pulled out his phone and called a college buddy. "Tyler Johnson, you on campus? Sleep? Like how you're sleeping at this hour. Bring your laptop over. I need to borrow it. I'll text you the address." Inside the bathroom, Olivia Sullivan stood in front of the mirror, turning this way and that, examining her reflection. "I look okay, right?" She glanced down, pulling her collar open slightly to peek inside. Her expression immediately fell, her confidence deflating. "If only I'd known. I would have worn nicer underwear. Does this look too childish? Will it be a turn-off?" Olivia Sullivan hadn't actually done it before, but she'd had health class back in middle school, so she knew the basics. But knowing about it and actually doing it were two different things, and she was definitely still nervous. Her hands were trembling. Finally, completely unsure of what to do, she decided to call her best friend, Claire Evans. The phone rang for a long time before a sleepy voice answered. "Hello. Olivia? What's up? Calling this late. Is everything okay? I literally just fell asleep." Sorry, Claire, but I really need to talk to you about something important." "Like really important? That urgent? What's wrong?" Sensing the anxiety in Olivia's voice, Claire instantly sobered up. Olivia took another deep breath before blurting out, I'm in a hotel." "A hotel? Don't you live in the dorms?" "And Michael Thompson is here too." Silence stretched over the line. Olivia asked nervously, Is this too fast?" "Actually, I guess it's okay." Claire paused, then added slightly flustered, "Not that I have any experience with this kind of thing, you know." "Oh, sorry. Don't apologize. It makes me feel like I'm losing somehow." Claire grumbled, though her tone was light, followed by a long sigh. "But Michael Thompson suggested spending the night together before, didn't he? And you turned him down then, right?" "Yeah, that's right." Well, if you keep saying no, he might start feeling some type of way, you know? Honestly, you guys are at that stage. Haven't you met his parents? And aren't you planning on getting married after graduation? A night like this was bound to happen eventually, right? Olivia had only confided these plans to Claire. If Claire hadn't known about their long-term plans, she definitely would have advised Olivia not to give in so easily. But things were different now. Their relationship had progressed so far, you could almost say they were already engaged. Even though Claire often found Michael Thompson annoying, the guy could be a real jerk with a foul temper, infuriating enough to make anyone want to scream. She had to admit he treated Olivia incredibly well. It was almost enviable. Claire used to think Olivia was settling, that she was the one compromising in the relationship. But now, it seemed Michael Thompson was actually quite formidable, smart, talented, and apparently poised to become a significant artist someday. From an outsider's perspective like hers, they were genuinely well-suited, a classic case of brains and beauty. Claire asked gently, "But don't you want this? If you really don't." I'm not unwilling. Actually, Olivia admitted, blushing furiously and stumbling over her words. It's just, I'm a little scared. Okay, then as your best friend, I have just one piece of advice. What is it? There should be, things in the nightstand drawer. Make sure Michael Thompson uses one. Seriously, Olivia clutched her phone, her face completely blank. So, in the end, Claire hadn't offered much helpful advice beyond the emphatic reminder about protection. Olivia ended up taking a very long bath, soaking in the tub, and idly blowing bubbles until her head started to feel fuzzy before she finally got out. Wrapped in a bath towel, she hesitated, looking at the underwear she'd just taken off. She hadn't brought a change of clothes, and the hotel only provided towels. Should she put them back on? But they were day-old. Did she really want to wear day-old underwear for her first time? What if they smelled like sweat? After agonizing for a long moment, she silently dropped them back into the hamper and stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped only in the thin hotel towel. The air in the main room felt cool after the warmth of the bathroom. Clutching the towel tightly across her chest to keep it from slipping, she cautiously peeked into the room. Michael Thompson was on the sofa, his back to her, typing rapidly away on a laptop. Clack, clack, clack. "Michael Thompson," she called softly, walking towards him. Michael turned. Seeing Olivia standing there, fresh from the shower, he froze, momentarily stunned. She was wrapped only in a towel that barely reached mid-thigh, revealing flawless, pale skin. Her small feet were bare on the carpet, her cheeks flushed like ripe apples. She lowered her gaze shyly, her long hair hastily pinned up with a simple hair tie. Damn, who could resist this? Get a grip, Thompson. God, I really want to kiss her. Hearing his thoughts, Olivia flushed even deeper, instinctively covering her chest more and turning slightly away. Stop staring, she murmured. Good grief, you'll catch a cold dressed like that. Snapping out of his daze, Michael quickly grabbed a nearby blanket from the sofa and wrapped it around her, then switched the room's air conditioning to heat. Olivia paused, finding herself bundled snugly in the blanket. This wasn't quite how she'd imagined things going. Wrapped in a blanket, Olivia Sullivan sat down next to Michael Thompson, who suddenly seemed to have trouble figuring out where to look. How can I possibly handle this? Is this a green light? Should I open a bottle of wine to set the mood? Michael's inner thoughts echoed in Olivia's mind, making her cheeks burn even hotter. Worse, he was also picturing some rather explicit images that were difficult to describe in words. Olivia could only brace herself, silently waiting for what was about to happen. But she waited, and Michael made no further moves. Pouting slightly, she looked up at him. Michael appeared completely engrossed in his laptop, working on a PowerPoint presentation, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Olivia tugged on his sleeve. What are you doing? The PowerPoint, like I said, Michael replied matter-of-factly. Olivia suddenly remembered Michael mentioning that he would stay at the hotel tonight to help her prepare a presentation to improve her chances with the school administration tomorrow. But, wasn't that just an excuse to stay the night? He was actually working on it? A sudden realization hit her. Where did you get a laptop? Borrowed it from a classmate. This hotel isn't far from campus, Michael explained. He had indeed chosen a hotel near their university. They both had classes tomorrow. Olivia's expression was complex. She hesitated, then asked haltingly, How long will this take? Michael thought for a moment. About an hour. Are you tired? You can go to sleep first. You can familiarize yourself with the presentation in the morning before we go to school. Sleep first? What did that even mean? The skin of her thighs rubbed together restlessly beneath her towel. I'll stay up with you. Michael smiled at her and went back to his work. Olivia watched him for a while, then rested her head on his shoulder. He gently stroked her hair, and his typing became quieter. Time drifted by, and Olivia started to feel drowsy. Michael sometimes pulled all-nighters when inspiration struck, but Olivia had a regular sleep schedule. She was usually asleep by this time and was struggling to stay awake. In her hazy state, she suddenly felt herself being lifted. She jolted awake to find Michael carrying her towards the bed. Is it happening? She was suddenly wide awake, but quickly closed her eyes, pretending to be asleep, a mixture of shyness and anticipation in her heart. But Michael simply laid her on the bed and tucked her in. Olivia peeked through one eye, watching Michael walk back towards the couch after covering her. Just as he was about to resume working, his sleeve was tugged. He turned around to see Olivia lying in bed, holding onto his sleeve. "Don't you want to?" she asked softly, her face half hidden by the covers, cheeks flushed. Michael was taken aback. "Want to what?" Olivia shot him a mortified look. How could she possibly say it out loud? Her shy, slightly reproachful glance made Michael understand. He sat down on the edge of the bed and gently stroked her head. "You said you weren't ready." Olivia stared at him. Because she said she wasn't ready. He wasn't planning on doing anything tonight, but he clearly wanted to. He'd been thinking about it since they entered the room. Suddenly, Olivia seemed to find her courage. I think we can try." Michael looked at her, a hint of surprise in his eyes. "Are you sure?" Olivia squeezed her eyes shut, biting her lip and nodding firmly. "So, try." A slender, lotus root-like hand emerged from beneath the covers and wrapped around Michael's shoulder, pulling him towards her. Michael and Olivia had kissed countless times since they started dating. Olivia was initially shy, requiring coaxing and persuasion from Michael for even a quick, light peck. But she secretly enjoyed the feeling, always smiling like a kitten afterwards, finding various excuses to reward Michael. However, a deep, passionate kiss like this was a first. She kissed him clumsily yet eagerly, and Michael responded in kind. After a long while, they finally parted. Olivia exhaled, her eyes slightly glazed, her cheeks flushed crimson. The blanket had slipped off, revealing her bare shoulders. She hesitated, then reached out and gently pulled at her towel, letting it fall to the floor. Michael was momentarily stunned. Olivia shyly covered her chest with her hand, murmuring, Don't judge my small." She burrowed under the covers, fumbled to remove the towel completely, and tossed it onto the floor. "Turn off the lights." "Can we leave them on?" "Just the bedside lamp." Michael chuckled and got up, turning off the main lights, leaving only the soft glow of the bedside lamp. Tonight, the night was long, and neither of them could sleep. The next day, Michael and Olivia woke up in the afternoon. It was Thursday, and they had both missed their morning classes. Olivia woke up draped over Michael like a koala, using his arm as a pillow. Recalling the events of last night, she felt a blush creep up her cheeks. But looking at Michael's sleeping face, she couldn't resist stealing a kiss, a sweet smile spreading across her face. She hugged him tighter, inhaling his familiar, comforting scent. In this moment, she felt like Michael completely belonged to her, and she completely belonged to him. It felt wonderful. However, her little movements woke Michael. He opened his eyes sleepily, saw Olivia, and suddenly pinched his own cheek. The sudden action startled Olivia. She stared at him, bewildered. Michael smiled, rolled over, and pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "I thought I was dreaming last night. And now it still feels unreal," Michael sighed. "I think I need to relive it." It took Olivia a moment to understand, and then her face flushed crimson. She playfully punched him and mumbled, "No, I can't right now. When will Miss Olivia Sullivan be available then?" "Depends on your performance." Michael tried to sit up, but Olivia held him down. He looked down at her. Even though her blush reached her ears, she stubbornly insisted, "Hold me a little longer. I don't want to get up." The two shared a tender moment, lying in bed holding hands and whispering sweet nothings until Olivia Sullivan's stomach growled. Blushing, she got ready to get up. Michael Thompson was already dressed and on the phone with the hotel reception, discussing compensation. After all, he needed to take the bedsheets with him. As Olivia Sullivan sat up, her brow furrowed. Even the slightest movement sent a twinge of pain through her body. Although they had already been intimate, she still felt a little shy changing in front of Michael Thompson. Wrapping a blanket around herself, she took her clothes into the bathroom. Michael Thompson watched her slightly awkward gait, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Once Olivia was dressed, Michael Thompson took her to the front desk to check out. Then, they went to grab something to eat. In a bistro near the university town, Olivia Sullivan sipped her smoothie, biting her straw, lost in thought, and giggling foolishly from time to time. While waiting for their food, Michael Thompson had his laptop out, working on a PowerPoint presentation. He was supposed to have finished it yesterday, but before he could, he and Olivia ended up doing other things. Now the presentation was unfinished, though only the concluding parts remained. Hearing Olivia's giggle, he asked curiously, "What's so funny?" "Nothing." Olivia shook her head, smiling sweetly as she sighed. "I just feel like time passes so slowly in college. We're only freshmen. It'll be so long until graduation." Graduation was when they planned to get married. She used to think time flew by, but now it felt agonizingly slow. She wished graduation would come sooner. Michael Thompson replied, "Yeah, I want to graduate quickly too. Come here for a second." "What's wrong? Let me kiss you." Olivia felt Michael Thompson's words made her so happy they deserved a reward. But just as she tilted her face towards his cheek, the waiter arrived with their meals. "Hello, here is your order." Olivia immediately sat back down, lowering her head, her hands fidgeting awkwardly, face flushed crimson. "Huh?" Michael Thompson laughed heartily, provoking a wave of embarrassed anger from her. She lightly kicked him under the table, muttering shyly, "You're still laughing? So, are you still going to kiss me?" Olivia stammered, unable to speak. But Michael Thompson leaned over and, quick as lightning, planted a kiss on her cheek. "Well, I'll just claim I reward myself then." Blushing, Olivia rubbed the spot where he'd kissed her and silently picked up her knife and fork, ready to eat. Michael Thompson put his laptop away, also preparing to eat, and brought up a practical matter. "By the way, weren't you supposed to meet with the school administrators today? Isn't it too late now? I just finished the PPT. And no, it's fine. I can go tomorrow." "We didn't set a specific time anyway," Olivia stammered, still recovering from her shyness. Michael Thompson nodded. "Okay, after we eat, how about I take you to look at apartments near campus?" MHM. After their meal, Michael Thompson drove back to his own university first. The PowerPoint was done, and he'd backed it up on his phone. Although he'd promised Olivia he'd go apartment hunting with her, the laptop still belonged to Tyler Johnson. He needed to return it. It was just past 3 in the afternoon when he arrived back at school. Classes were still in session, including one from Michael Thompson's major. He checked the time outside his classroom door, still a while before class ended. He sent Tyler Johnson a text asking him to come out and get the laptop. Shortly after sending the message, Tyler Johnson emerged stealthily from the back door of the classroom. Seeing Michael Thompson, he gave him a thumbs up. "Michael, looking pleased with yourself after a successful venture. What nonsense are you talking about?" Michael Thompson handed him the laptop bag. "I was helping someone with a document yesterday." Tyler Johnson gave him a get-it-look swallowed and asked, "So, that document, was it easy to handle?" "It's not a question of easy or not. How should I put it? It's the kind that, why would I even bother explaining this to you?" Michael Thompson caught himself and rolled his eyes. Tyler Johnson chuckled, dropping the subject. "Seriously, Michael, you've got guts. You even skipped Professor Gibson's class this morning." "What?" Michael Thompson stared at him, surprised. Was this morning the Chinese painting appreciation class? "Yeah." Michael Thompson slapped his forehead. He'd completely forgotten. Chinese painting appreciation didn't even have a final exam, but almost no one ever skipped it because the lecturer was Howard Banks, the honorary dean of the Chinese Painting Academy. Howard Banks only taught 4 classes a month, and the schedule wasn't fixed, which is why Michael Thompson had forgotten. This was bad. Howard Banks might not notice other students skipping, but he would definitely notice Michael Thompson's absence. After all, they had a master-apprentice relationship. Well, what was done. Michael Thompson could only accept his bad luck. At worst, he'd get a lecture from his master later. Tyler Johnson asked, "We still have a specialized class now. Are you going to skip this one too, Michael?" The specialized class was for their major only, not shared with other programs. Attendance wasn't strictly enforced in general elective courses, and skipping was common, but fewer students skipped specialized classes as attendance was taken every session. Michael Thompson was a Chinese painting major, and his afternoon class was painting practice, but he didn't plan on attending. Michael Thompson shook his head. "Forget it. I'm helping my girlfriend look for an apartment near campus this afternoon." Tyler Johnson suddenly perked up. "Where are you planning to live?" "Just somewhere near the university town, closer to campus." "Want me to lend you a place?" I have houses around here. I don't live in them. They're just empty. If you and your girlfriend need a place, you could just stay in one." Tyler Johnson pulled out a large ring of keys. "What style do you want? Chinese, European, duplex?" "I've got them all." Michael Thompson was speechless. He knew Tyler Johnson was a rich kid, but this was beyond imagination. Originally, Michael Thompson planned to contact a real estate agent to view some properties, but since Tyler Johnson offered this convenience, he was happy to accept the favor. Tyler Johnson wasn't keen on attending class either, so he decided to skip too, temporarily playing the role of a real estate agent, taking Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan to see some apartments. "Where did you get so many houses?" Michael Thompson couldn't help asking after touring a few places. Tyler Johnson replied, "My dad's in real estate, the kind that builds developments everywhere. Anyway, every time he finishes a complex, he gives me an apartment in it. It's not that many, really just about one a year. By the way, Michael, your car isn't great. Want me to lend you a few to drive around?" He was usually quite low-key around classmates, his spending habits similar to an average university student's, but he didn't hide his wealth from Michael Thompson, his rich kid persona fully exposed. Michael Thompson couldn't resist saying to Olivia, "When I have a son, I want him to be able to show off to others like this." Olivia covered her mouth, laughing. "Okay, I'll work hard to earn money." Tyler Johnson protested loudly. "Shameless PDA? And Michael, what you said makes me feel like I've somehow been slighted." For a moment, the air was filled with laughter and cheerful voices. In the end, Michael Thompson settled on a duplex apartment. It was located in an apartment complex within the university district. The subway entrance was just steps away from the building, and nearby amenities like diners, parks, and hospitals were all readily available. Driving to the university wouldn't take more than 20 minutes either. Most importantly, the duplex was spacious enough. Tyler Johnson had initially planned to let Michael Thompson live there rent-free, but at Michael's insistence, they had someone draw up a lease agreement. The monthly rent was a symbolic $300, considering the duplex spanned nearly 3,200 sq ft. Across 2 floors in a prime Boston location, the normal rent, even back then, wouldn't have been less than $8,000 a month. But Tyler Johnson didn't care about that. A bit of rent money meant nothing to a rich heir like him. "All right, Michael, I won't intrude on you two lovebirds," Tyler said. "You two should probably get a cleaner for this place. It hasn't been lived in for a while." Once everything was settled, Tyler Johnson said his goodbyes to Michael Thompson and headed back to the university. Michael Thompson had offered to treat him to a meal, but Tyler clearly didn't want to stick around and be a third wheel. He insisted on leaving, saying he was eager to get back and hop online for some games. After Tyler Johnson left, Olivia Sullivan pulled Michael Thompson aside and whispered, "Maybe we shouldn't rent this place after all? What's wrong? Don't you like it?" Michael Thompson asked, puzzled. "This place is actually really nice, high-end European-style decor, top-of-the-line furniture. That living room sofa set alone must be worth tens of thousands. The location is great too. Even setting aside the rent, finding a better place would probably be difficult." Olivia Sullivan shook her head. "It's too big. If it's just me, I prefer a smaller place. It will be easier to clean." Michael Thompson gave her a strange look. "Who said it's just you? I'm living here too." Olivia Sullivan's pretty eyes widened in surprise. You're moving in too. Isn't that obvious? How could I possibly let you live out here all by yourself?" Michael Thompson said with complete self-assurance. Olivia Sullivan hesitated, flustered. This was living together before marriage, wasn't it? Michael Thompson seemed to sense her hesitation. Putting an arm around her waist, he said, "After what happened last night, can't we live together?" Olivia Sullivan blushed again. She looked down, mumbling for a moment before slowly asking, "We're going to get married eventually, right?" "Of course. Then we can't tell the Thompsons." Olivia Sullivan decided, clinging to her last line of defense. "If Grandpa or Dad Robert and Mom Margaret find out I'm already living with Michael Thompson, what if they misunderstand and think I'm some easy girl?" She shook her little fist, pretending to be fierce. "If you tell anyone I'll be really mad at you." Yes, my lips are sealed. Absolutely sealed. I guarantee I won't tell a soul." Michael Thompson agreed with a grin. Only then did Olivia Sullivan lower her fist, satisfied. "Okay, then I get first pick of the rooms." The smile froze on Michael Thompson's face. "We're not sharing a room?" "No way. You definitely get handsy," Olivia Sullivan said scornfully, seeing right through him. Michael Thompson immediately swore up and down. "I promise, just cuddling, nothing else." "That's what you said last night, too." "Did I?" Michael Thompson scratched his face awkwardly, muttering, "Weren't you the one making the first move last night?" Flushed and annoyed, Olivia Sullivan tried to pinch him, but he dodged away, laughing. Although they'd found a new place, the apartment hadn't been cleaned in a while, and dust had gathered in the corners. Plus, Olivia Sullivan's personal items, clothes, and toiletries were still back in her dorm room. While arranging for cleaners, Michael Thompson took Olivia Sullivan to the mall to buy some new clothes first. Olivia Sullivan was a bit confused. But I still have clothes. Aren't we going to get them from my dorm? But I want to buy my girlfriend new clothes, Michael Thompson said seriously. Olivia Sullivan smiled shyly, then added, but my skincare products and stuff are still at the dorm too. Buy them. We'll buy new ones. Michael Thompson smoothly pulled out a Bank of America card. Today's shopping spree is courtesy of Mr. Michael Thompson. Olivia Sullivan looked closely at the card he produced and immediately felt annoyed. Wasn't that her card? Michael Thompson noticed her annoyed little pout and added, I've put all the money I earned in here too. So this card has been upgraded from Miss Olivia's personal fund to our joint fund. Olivia Sullivan's expression instantly brightened. She liked the sound of our joint fund. We'll go get your stuff from the dorm tomorrow, Michael Thompson said. Also, I was thinking of treating your roommates to a meal. If you have any other close classmates, you can invite them too. Olivia Sullivan hesitated again, especially since she'd just had that conflict with her roommates. She wondered if Michael Thompson was using the dinner as an excuse to help her smooth things over. But then she thought again, no way. She knew her boyfriend too well. He could be genuinely petty sometimes, and incredibly vengeful. It definitely wasn't that simple. At that thought, Olivia Sullivan looked at Michael Thompson warily. What are you planning? Do it here? Isn't it a bit inconvenient? Olivia Sullivan froze for a second before realizing Michael Thompson had made a dirty joke. Her face flushed red. If you keep talking like that, I'm ignoring you. I'm being serious. Okay, Michael Thompson replied with a smile. It's nothing really. You're all classmates, after all, and you've lived with your roommates for a while. Now that you're moving out, treating them to a meal isn't unreasonable, right? You're not plotting something, are you? How could I? Am I that kind of person? Seeing Olivia Sullivan nod firmly, Michael Thompson feigned hurt. You might have some misconceptions about your boyfriend. Olivia Sullivan thought for a moment, then shook her head vigorously. Michael Thompson protested, Hey, if you keep doing that, I'm going to get angry. Olivia Sullivan considered again, then turned Michael Thompson's face towards her and planted a quick kiss on his cheek. Still angry now? Getting angry at my girlfriend? What kind of man does that? I have no respect for guys like that, Michael Thompson said, wiping his cheek, his attitude shifting with resolute firmness. At this, Olivia Sullivan just covered her mouth, smiling without saying anything. She used to think Michael Thompson was always too glib and smooth-talking, but somewhere along the line, she'd gradually grown fond of even that part of him. This must be what it feels like to truly love someone, she thought. Whether it's the good parts or the bad, you end up loving all of it. After returning from their shopping trip, Michael Thompson took Olivia Sullivan back to Samuel Shaw's house. He hadn't gone back last night, skipped Howard Banks's class this morning, and figured he'd face the music if he didn't show up tonight either. Michael Thompson had called Elizabeth Shaw earlier to let her know he was bringing his girlfriend over for dinner, and Elizabeth Shaw was naturally delighted. By the time they arrived, Elizabeth Shaw had already prepared a huge turkey dinner spread across the table. You troublesome brat. You finally remembered to come back. As expected, Howard Banks didn't give Michael Thompson a warm welcome, his eyes constantly sizing up both him and Olivia Sullivan. Olivia Sullivan felt quite embarrassed under Howard Banks's scrutiny, her smile becoming a little awkward. In the end, however, Howard Banks didn't say much, just issued a warning. You can't skip class anymore. Are you not even going to give my class face? Samuel Shaw, special circumstances, special circumstances. I definitely won't do it again, Michael Thompson said, forcing a smile. He gently patted Olivia Sullivan beside him. Go give Elizabeth Shaw a hand. Oh. Olivia Sullivan obediently headed towards the kitchen to help, prompting Elizabeth Shaw to scold Michael Thompson. Michael, how can you ask a guest to help? Olivia, you go sit down and rest. It's fine. Olivia Sullivan quietly protested. I'm not an outsider, so please let me help. Elizabeth Shaw paused for a moment, then smiled without refusing, letting Olivia Sullivan come into the kitchen to assist. In the living room, only the master-apprentice relationship duo remained. Howard Banks looked Michael Thompson up and down. You didn't do anything to the girl, did you? Michael Thompson put on an expression of pure innocence. Samuel Shaw, we just talked about our ideals and the future. You don't seem like the type who can hold back. Howard Banks clearly didn't believe him, but didn't press the issue. He just said, this is something for you young people. I'm just an old man. I can't manage it. Ultimately, I'm your Samuel Shaw, not your parents. Let your mom and dad worry about your lifelong matters. However, you can't neglect your studies because of this, understand? He patted Michael Thompson's shoulder, speaking earnestly. Besides, you're still in university. Stay safe, got it? I know. Michael Thompson's smile faded, and he nodded seriously. Then he brought up the main topic, a rare hesitation appearing on his face. By the way, Samuel Shaw, there's something I want to discuss with you. What? I plan to move out. Howard Banks looked at him, slightly surprised. What? Thinking of leaving the master-apprentice relationship? That's not what I mean, Samuel Shaw. It's just that something happened with little Olivia, and she plans to move out of the school dorms. She's a girl living alone. I'm worried about her. Howard Banks asked, Then how will you learn painting from me? The place isn't far, just nearby. It's only a 20-minute drive from here. Michael Thompson tried hard to convince Howard Banks. We can stick to the usual schedule. I'll come back right after class, and I'll leave when you're ready to rest. Isn't going back and forth so inconvenient? There are plenty of empty rooms here. Why not let little Olivia move in? Howard Banks felt this was too much trouble. But Michael Thompson just gave an awkward smile without explaining. Seeing this, Howard Banks understood immediately. Some things were just more convenient for a young couple when they were alone together. Howard Banks pointed a finger at Michael Thompson, looking quite frustrated. If you put this much thought into painting, perhaps your achievements would be even greater. Samuel Shaw, I just go with the flow. I'm pretty easygoing about things. I wish you were a little less easygoing. Can't you have some ambition? Howard Banks clutched his chest, feeling a pang of anger. However, after thinking for a long while, he nodded in agreement. Fine, suit yourself. This surprised Michael Thompson. He had actually been quite apprehensive about bringing this up. He knew Howard Banks's temper all too well, the standard strict teacher, stubborn as a mule, wishing Michael Thompson could dedicate 25 hours a day to painting. Moving out would definitely affect his apprenticeship. Although Michael Thompson had always planned to try living together with Olivia Sullivan during university, his original plan was for after freshman year. Freshman year courses were packed, basically full every day, while sophomore year had fewer classes, providing ample time to manage things on both ends. But plans couldn't keep up with changes. Before speaking up today, Michael Thompson had already figured that if Howard Banks disagreed, he would try to persuade Elizabeth Shaw. Elizabeth Shaw was more easily swayed, easier to convince, and held more sway in a household. But unexpectedly, this indirect approach wasn't even needed. Howard Banks had already agreed. Howard Banks said, if you had brought this up before Thanksgiving break, I definitely wouldn't have agreed. However, you've already broken through your previous plateau. Your current level is already good enough to leave the master-apprentice relationship. He sighed, much faster than I expected. I originally thought you'd stay here with me for another 8 or 10 years, but it hasn't even been 2. Michael Thompson's mind buzzed, and he was dumbfounded. Samuel Shaw, that's not what I meant at all. Howard Banks waved his hand dismissively. All right, I'm just saying. The standards for the master-apprentice relationship vary from person to person. My previous apprentices, if they reached your current level, I definitely wouldn't have kept them. But you're different from them. Michael Thompson finally breathed a sigh of relief and asked with a smile, Then Samuel Shaw, what's my standard for the master-apprentice relationship? You? Howard Banks glanced at him and said gravely, When people mention you, they no longer say Howard Banks' apprentice. Instead, when they mention me, they say that's Michael Thompson's Samuel Shaw. That's when you can complete your master-apprentice relationship. Michael Thompson gave a wry smile. Wow, that's quite a high bar. Samuel Shaw, are you planning to have me eat turkey dinner at your house for the rest of my life? Howard Banks also smiled, saying meaningfully, That day will come, and probably sooner than you think. That evening, the Thompson family had dinner together. For Michael Thompson, this place was truly his second home. During the meal, when Elizabeth Shaw heard Michael Thompson was moving out, her eyes reddened, clearly reluctant to see him go. Her husband had taken many disciples, but only Michael Thompson was a live-in one. Elizabeth Shaw merely knew the other apprentices, but she felt like this boy, who had only been here for 2 years, was her own son. After dinner, Elizabeth Shaw and Howard Banks helped Michael Thompson pack his things. In reality, he was only taking a few changes of clothes, but the elderly couple packed slowly and deliberately. Elizabeth Shaw kept muttering that autumn was coming and she should get Michael Thompson some thicker thermal leggings. It gave Michael Thompson the mistaken impression that he wasn't just moving a 20-minute drive away, but embarking on a long journey. Elizabeth Shaw, I'm not going far. It's just a 20-minute drive. Plus, I'll still be coming every day. Not only me, I'll bring little Olivia along to crash for dinner too. Michael Thompson joked. Hearing his joke, Elizabeth Shaw finally chuckled and agreed. All right, Mrs. Thompson will make you both delicious food. Once everything was packed, Michael Thompson dragged his suitcase down from the second floor and saw Howard Banks sitting in the bamboo chair in the living room. "You have your own car. I won't see you out." Howard Banks made no move to get up, just sat in the bamboo chair watching him for a moment before saying, "Treat the girl well from now on." Michael Thompson smiled and nodded. "Got it, Samuel Shaw." By the time the two got home, the house had already been cleaned. The sheets, quilts, and everything else were newly bought, so apart from dusting, it hadn't taken too long. After Michael Thompson paid Aunt Daisy for her work, just the two of them were left. "I'll take this room." Olivia Sullivan chose a smaller room on the second floor, leaving the master bedroom for Michael Thompson. "You take that one." Michael Thompson suggested tactfully, "I think having a study on the second floor will be nice. There's one on the first floor. My room is too big. I'll be scared staying alone." "Stop being cheeky," Olivia Sullivan insisted. "We have to sleep in separate rooms." Seeing his persuasion wasn't working, Michael Thompson had no choice but to reluctantly agree. All right. Lovers turned roommates. That's fine too." Olivia Sullivan pretended not to understand. "The study on the first floor can be turned into an art studio for you. Do you need me to buy you a computer?" "A laptop is fine. It's more convenient if I need to take it out sometimes." "Okay. Then we also need to buy some oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, things like that, so we can cook for ourselves occasionally." "Oh, right. We haven't bought a drying rack yet." Olivia Sullivan ticked off the items they still needed on her fingers, looking every bit like she was seriously planning their life together. Michael Thompson pulled her over, kissed her forehead, and said with a smile, "All right, let's buy this stuff tomorrow. Go to sleep first. It's getting late." "But I only woke up this afternoon." "I'm sleepy," Olivia Sullivan sighed and said reluctantly. "Okay then, good night." "Good night." Michael Thompson waved and turned towards his room. Olivia Sullivan didn't react at first, only realizing when Michael Thompson had already entered the room. She suddenly rushed after him. "That's my room. I didn't say you could sleep with me tonight. I'll just hold you. I absolutely won't do anything." As it turned out, men's promises are made to be broken. The next day, Olivia Sullivan went to school with dark circles under her eyes. Michael Thompson dropped her off early in the morning, excitedly telling her to invite her roommates out for dinner after class. Olivia Sullivan didn't know what mischief Michael Thompson was planning, but at this point, she could only let him be. She had a class first thing in the morning, one held in a large lecture hall for several classes from the same department. Olivia Sullivan arrived relatively early, and there weren't many people in the classroom yet. She found an empty seat in the front row. In university, the people who sat here were typically the hardcore top students, the kind who, while others played on their phones or slept during lectures, would recapture their high school study habits, listening attentively and taking notes diligently. Olivia Sullivan was exactly this type of top student. Her grades had always been excellent, and she hadn't slacked off after starting university. After all, she planned to pursue further studies, so good grades were essential. However, there was another reason she chose the front row. She was rather short, and if taller students sat in front of her further back, she might not be able to see. "Oh no, my textbook and notes are still in the dormitory." Olivia Sullivan furrowed her brow slightly, a little troubled. She debated for a while before taking out her phone and sending a message to Laura, her dorm leader. "Laura, could you please bring my book and notebook for today's class? I'm already in the classroom." Laura replied quickly. "You're back at school? You actually skipped class yesterday. If I hadn't known you were with your boyfriend, I would have been worried." Olivia Sullivan blushed slightly. "Yesterday? Something came up yesterday. It's fine now. It's okay. We're all adults, I understand. I'll bring your books and stuff in a bit. Have you had breakfast? Want me to bring you something?" "I've already eaten." "Okay." Not long after they finished chatting, Laura and Lily Carter arrived at the classroom, carrying bagels and smoothies. When he wasn't with them, though, Laura sat down beside her and handed Olivia Sullivan her books. "Olivia, your books." Olivia Sullivan took them, thanking her. "Thanks, Laura." Laura hesitated for a moment, then said, "About what happened the day before yesterday, when he was definitely in the wrong. Don't take it too hard. Lily Carter and I are definitely on your side." Lily Carter chimed in. "Wendy, that gossip queen, just can't stand seeing other people happy. Let's just ignore her from now on. What's she so arrogant about anyway?" Olivia Sullivan felt awkward. I'm fine," Lily Carter said, frustratedly. "You're just too nice, too easy to bully. If it were me, I would have definitely fought with her. See who ends up embarrassed." Laura frowned. "All right, Lily, that's enough. We are roommates for 4 years, after all. There's still a long time ahead. If things get too tense now, it'll be hard to live together later." She was more practical, hoping everyone could get along peacefully. After all, Living in the same dorm with enemies for 4 years would be torture for anyone. So she wanted to act as a peacemaker, hoping both sides could take a step back, pretend it never happened, and let it go. However, this wasn't just between Olivia Sullivan and Wendy anymore. After Olivia Sullivan left the other day, Wendy had said something particularly nasty to Lily Carter, who had spoken up for Olivia. Why are you defending her like that? Are you her pet dog? Does she give you 2 pieces of beef jerky, and you feel obliged to protect your master? That single sentence had instantly ignited the fiery temper of the Sichuan native. If Laura hadn't held her back, the two might have actually come to blows. Now Laura had a real headache. She felt Olivia Sullivan would be easy to persuade. The girl from Southern California had a gentle nature and a good temper. But Lily Carter and Wendy were both stubborn and unwilling to yield, making persuasion impossible. Seeing the dorm relations suddenly become hostile, like needles point to point, she, the dorm leader, was in a difficult position. Olivia Sullivan remained silent for a long while before saying, I'm planning to move out. Move out? Laura and Lily Carter looked at her in surprise. They hadn't expected Olivia Sullivan to be so decisive. Can't get along? Then don't. Just leave. Laura realized. This was your boyfriend's idea, wasn't it? Olivia Sullivan nodded shyly. Although she had initially cried to Michael Thompson about not wanting to live in the dorm anymore, it was more of a complaint at the time, spoken impulsively, without really intending to move out. But Michael Thompson was a man of action. He agreed immediately and wanted to find an apartment that very day. Laura thought to herself, of course. While Olivia Sullivan might not be that decisive, her boyfriend certainly was. When Michael Thompson had spoken with her briefly that day, although he was just asking what happened, he gave off the impression that he was going to stir things up. Olivia Sullivan's boyfriend was definitely not someone simple. Lily Carter said with a hint of envy, "That's great. I wish I could find a boyfriend and move out together too." She excitedly kept asking Olivia Sullivan about her and her boyfriend, making Olivia feel rather embarrassed, only able to selectively answer some questions. As for how far things had progressed, what base they'd reached, Olivia just blushed and couldn't bring herself to answer those questions. Finally, Olivia Sullivan said, "Laura, Lily Carter, are you free tonight? I'd like to treat you guys to dinner." Okay. I'm free anytime." Lily Carter agreed immediately, raising her hands happily. Laura also nodded, but then asked, "So, should we ask Wendy?" Lily Johnson's words wiped the excited smile right off Linda Carter's face. "Why invite her?" Seeing Linda's unfriendly tone, Lily Johnson said awkwardly, "She's our roommate, after all." Olivia Sullivan nodded. "Lily's right. We should invite her." Since Olivia had spoken, Linda Carter could only nod resignedly. "Fine. If the generous host footing the bill tonight says so, who am I, the freeloader, to argue?" That afternoon, Olivia Sullivan only had one class, which finished at 3, and then she was done for the day. She went back to her dorm to get ready, then sent a message to Michael Thompson. "I'm all ready. Where are we eating tonight?" On the other end, Michael Thompson received the message and simply replied, "I'm almost there." As he sent the message, Tyler Johnson, standing beside him, grimaced. "Michael, are you really going all out like this tonight?" Right then, the two of them were standing in a garage, surrounded by nothing but luxury cars. Michael Thompson scoffed, "No big deal. Don't act like you've never seen anything like it." Tyler Johnson was a bit exasperated. "This is no big deal. My dad even asked if he could come tonight. What am I supposed to tell him? Does your dad even know anything about art? He knows jack shit. My family's just new money. Go back generations. And besides me, nobody has an artistic bone in their body." Tyler Johnson didn't hold back when bad-mouthing his old man. But he does understand the caliber of people attending tonight. Making a good connection with just one person could easily lead to a big deal, maybe even a 7-figure one. Michael Thompson hummed thoughtfully. "So you're the only one in your family with artistic talent?" "You bet. I mean, I did get an RISD, didn't I?" Michael patted his shoulder with mock sympathy. "Maybe you should get a paternity test?" Tyler Johnson's smug expression froze. Michael laughed. "Just kidding. Seriously, though, if he wants to come, he can come. I was just thinking we could use more people anyway. If your dad wants to grace us with his presence, that's great." "All right, I'll tell him." Tyler gleefully started calling his old man, adding to Michael, "Michael, I cleared it with my dad. Pick any car you like from the garage. Just take it. Bring it back whenever. Deal. Thank your dad for me." Michael chose a particularly flashy supercar. "I'll take this one then. You take something bigger to drive the others later." Tyler Johnson made an okay gesture and continued his call. "Isn't he here yet?" Downstairs from the Harvard dormitory, Olivia Sullivan and her roommates were waiting. Wendy stood off to the side with her arms crossed, looking indifferent. Clearly, the tension between her and the others hadn't dissipated. She hadn't expected Olivia Sullivan to actually invite her tonight, but whatever game Olivia was playing, she planned to go anyway. As for why, it was because she had recently gotten a boyfriend. Although Wendy wasn't particularly attractive, she was still a Harvard student, and her family was quite well off. So, the boyfriend she found was decent enough. At least his family was rich. Tonight, Wendy planned to bring her boyfriend along specifically to knock Olivia Sullivan down a peg. Wasn't Olivia just acting high and mighty because she had a great boyfriend? Besides, Wendy had seen him herself. Although he was handsome, he wasn't necessarily that rich. The car he drove was just some inexpensive domestic model, probably worth around 100,000 yuan or so. He was likely just putting up a false front. Her boyfriend, on the other hand, at least drove a BMW. When he glanced sideways at Olivia and the others. My boyfriend is coming to pick me up in his car soon. Just give me the address, and I'll head straight there. Olivia Sullivan mumbled. I'll ask him again. She had just asked Michael Thompson where they were eating, but he only said he was almost there and didn't give a location. Just as she took out her phone, she saw a man running towards them from a short distance away, holding a single rose. Wendy. It was Wendy's boyfriend. He was ordinary looking, with rather small eyes, and, most noticeably, a very sparse hairline. Seeing him running over, Wendy said, slightly annoyed, Where's the car? Didn't I tell you to drive here to pick me up? The man said awkwardly, The car's parked outside the school plaza. The guards wouldn't let me drive in. Wendy was exasperated. She had wanted to show off in front of her roommates, and now she'd missed her chance. The man handed her the rose. This is for you. Are these your roommates? He looked at the girls behind Wendy, his already small eyes narrowing into slits. Especially the petite one. How could she be so pretty? Were there really such beautiful girls at Harvard? Even besides her, the other two weren't bad either. The tall one was very pretty too. The man looked at Olivia Sullivan and the other two, then back at his own girlfriend with her round face. TSK. Wendy noticed her boyfriend checking out the other girls, and that leering expression on his face instantly made her furious. But she couldn't lose her temper in front of her roommates. She turned to Olivia Sullivan even more impatiently. Did you find out yet? Where are we eating? I am asking. He hasn't replied yet. Wendy, since you're all roommates, why don't you ride with me? My car has enough room, the man said to Wendy, then turned to the other three girls. Why don't you wait in my car? He deliberately, yet casually, flashed his BMW key fob. Olivia Sullivan shook her head. My boyfriend is coming to pick me up any minute now. She has a boyfriend? The man thought. No big deal, probably just some poor college student. Just as the man was about to say more, the sound of a car horn, beep, beep, echoed from behind him. He turned around and saw a bright blue Bugatti Chiron pulling up behind him. He jumped in surprise. A supercar like this driving on campus was incredibly eye-catching. All the students passing by stopped to stare, casting curious glances. The window rolled down, and a young man wearing sunglasses leaned out from the passenger seat. Hey, Baldy up front. Get out of the way. Can't you see you're blocking the road? Wendy flared up and started forward, saying, How dare you speak like that? The man quickly pulled her back and then obediently stepped aside himself. He knew cars. This Bugatti Chiron had to be worth 7 figures at least. He was terrified of scratching it. He could never afford to pay for the damage. Besides, what kind of person drives a car like this? Definitely not someone to mess with. Better stay clear. But after driving past him, the Bugatti Chiron quickly stopped again. It stopped right in front of Olivia Sullivan, blocking her way. She frowned slightly, a little annoyed, and started to step aside. But the driver's window rolled down, revealing a familiar face. Hey there, beautiful. Waiting for someone? Want to go for a spin with Big Brother? Michael Thompson greeted her with a grin. Then he turned back to Tyler Johnson in the passenger seat. Get out quick. You take the other car. Tyler Johnson muttered something like, Friends mean nothing when there's a girl around, pushed open the door and got out. Michael Thompson, Olivia Sullivan exclaimed, a mix of shock and delight washing over her. As Michael opened the car door and stepped out, she hurried over. Where did you get this car? Borrowed it. From this guy here. Michael gestured with his chin towards Tyler Johnson, who smiled and offered a friendly greeting. Hey, Olivia. Nice to meet you. Olivia nodded back, her gaze curious. This was the first friend of Michael's she'd met since he came to Boston. As the three chatted, Laura and Linda Carter stood nearby, eyes wide. Whoa, talk about making an entrance. Didn't Olivia's boyfriend used to drive a pretty normal car? Linda murmured, looking stunned. Laura could only manage a wry smile. She was the one who'd told Michael about the friction between Olivia and Wendy. It was obvious Michael was here to back his girlfriend up. This dinner was probably going to be eventful. She glanced at the sleek car Michael had arrived in, then at Olivia, who was beaming sweetly beside him. A pang of envy struck her. Olivia really was lucky to have found a boyfriend like him. "Olivia, give your luggage to Tyler Johnson," Michael said to her. He drove another car over. "You can put it in his." He then turned apologetically to Laura and Linda Carter. "This car only has 2 seats. You two can ride with Tyler. His car is parked over by the school plaza." Laura and Linda nodded, having no objections. Olivia held on to her luggage, looking slightly sheepish. "Doesn't this car have a frunk?" "I don't have much stuff." Michael chuckled and walked over to open the front trunk. The moment it popped open, the girls gasped. Nestled inside was a heart-shape meticulously arranged with fresh roses. Olivia covered her mouth, astonished into silence. Michael leaned down and whispered near her ear with a smile, "Do you like it?" "It's a little embarrassing," Olivia murmured shyly, covering her mouth, but the joy sparkling in her eyes was impossible to hide. Wendy and her boyfriend, who had been standing at a distance, also saw the frunk full of roses. Wendy glanced down at the single, plastic-wrapped rose in her own hand, already wilting limply. She practically ground her teeth, shooting daggers at her boyfriend. "Right. Is that plump roommate of yours riding with Tyler Johnson too?" Michael asked Olivia, glancing towards Wendy. His voice wasn't particularly loud, but when he heard him clearly, her face instantly turned livid with anger. She hated it when people commented on her weight, but she didn't dare lash out at Michael Thompson, forcing herself to stay silent while glaring pointedly at her boyfriend, willing him to defend her. However, though her boyfriend clearly noticed her look, he pretended not to see, even shifting his gaze away. Olivia looked towards Wendy, feeling awkward. Linda Carter, however, just pursed her lips. "Isn't she going in her boyfriend's car? Just give her the address." Wendy managed to force a tight smile. "Right, we have our own car." "Okay, I'll have Olivia Sullivan send you the address later," Michael Thompson replied evenly, showing no animosity. He then opened the passenger door for Olivia and helped her into the car before getting in himself. Tyler Johnson picked up Olivia Sullivan's luggage and led Laura Gibson and Linda Carter towards the Harvard University entrance. He finally understood why Michael Thompson had him drive that specific car on a campus. It was purely so he could serve as the designated luggage carrier. On the way, Laura struck up a conversation with Tyler. "What should we call you?" "Call me Sean," he suggested. "Sean, Ba," Laura teased, drawing out the sound. "It's Tion Leon," he corrected. "Just call me Tyler Johnson." "So, I have to call you Tyler Ba until Tion Leon?" Laura asked, playfully referencing the literal meaning of Tyler Leon, daybreak, while covering her mouth in mock surprise. "Do you have some kind of special thing?" Tyler looked utterly exasperated. "My name is Tyler Johnson," he said helplessly. "Call me whatever you like, just not Shamba. Seriously, I'll flip out, and you don't want to see me angry." Laura couldn't help but laugh a few times. Linda Carter jumped in, unable to hold back her curiosity. "Hey, Olivia Sullivan's boyfriend. Who is he exactly?" Laura Gibson was equally curious. When Olivia talked about Michael Thompson, she only ever mentioned they were high school classmates from the same town. Her roommates had guessed Michael Thompson's family was probably well off, since few freshmen drove their own cars to pick up girlfriends, and Olivia Sullivan never seemed short on expensive bags or cosmetics. But seeing the incredibly flashy car Michael Thompson drove today suggested a level of well-off far beyond what they had imagined. Tyler Johnson thought for a moment, then said confidently, "A great artist. If not now, definitely in the future." Laura Gibson and Linda Carter. "I only found out recently myself that he's actually a disciple of President Gibson at RISD," Tyler Johnson added with a hint of awe. "He mentioned it before, but we all thought he was just bragging." Only Tyler knew this among their university friends. Laura Gibson and Linda Carter had no idea who Gibson Lowther of the Rhode Island School of Design was, and were mostly confused, though they gathered Michael Thompson seemed to have significant connections. Linda Carter, always more direct, asked bluntly, "So, is his family super rich?" Unexpectedly, Tyler Johnson burst out laughing. "Who told you Michael Thompson's family is rich? I mean, they're okay, better off than average maybe, but not really wealthy." He paused, then added, "Comparatively, Olivia Sullivan's family is way better off than Michael Thompson's." Laura Gibson gasped. "You mean Olivia Sullivan?" Seeing the girls' shocked expressions, Tyler Johnson frowned, puzzled. "Why are you so surprised? Are you her roommates?" "Her family, the Sullivans, are the richest in their area, top few in Riverside City, if not number one, right?" Michael often jokes about landing himself an heiress. Wait. Linda Carter's eyes widened. "The richest family? You're talking about Olivia Sullivan's family?" "Yeah, but she never said anything. Maybe she's just low-key? Did I say too much? Tyler Johnson looked slightly concerned. Linda Carter was too stunned to speak. Hearing Tyler Johnson's explanation, Laura Gibson suddenly assumed the fancy sports car must belong to Olivia Sullivan. A wave of sympathy washed over her for Wendy. This wasn't just picking a fight with the wrong person. This was like kicking a steel plate. As they talked, they reached Harvard School Plaza. Tyler Johnson wasn't sure how many people Michael Thompson needed to pick up, so he brought a 7-seater minivan. He wasn't comfortable driving it, so a dedicated driver had been waiting with the vehicle. Just as they arrived, they saw Wendy and her boyfriend arguing beside a BMW 3 Series. "Couldn't you have said something for me back there?" Wendy demanded furiously. "Say what? He didn't say anything that bad, did he? He seemed polite enough. Didn't you hear him call me plump? What good are you as a boyfriend? Even a dog knows how to protect its owner." "What the hell did you just say? Who the fuck are you calling a dog?" Wendy and her boyfriend's argument was escalating, getting heated to the point where they looked ready to shove each other. Just then, Tyler Johnson and 2 others walked over. Wendy froze, quickly lowering her voice. "Okay, stop arguing for now. People are coming." Her boyfriend, however, wasn't having it. "Make yourself clear. Who are you just calling a dog? Wendy, do you really think you're some kind of princess? That everyone has to cater to you? Why don't you take a good look at yourself?" Wendy's face flushed red, then paled with anger. She raised her hand as if to slap him, but ultimately restrained herself. Seeing Tyler Johnson's group notice the commotion and head their way, she hissed in a low voice, "Can you just give me some face today? At worst, tonight, you can do whatever you want." "Fine, you said it yourself." Wendy looked at this lecherous man, a wave of disgust washing over her. She used to think this boyfriend wasn't half bad, rich family, not too hard on the eyes, and most importantly, had his own career. But now, looking at him filled her with nothing but revulsion. The contrast felt even starker when compared to Olivia Sullivan's boyfriend. Why did she get someone tall, handsome, young, rich, and romantic while Wendy was stuck with this loan shark? The more Wendy thought about it, the more frustrated and stifled she felt, like a weight on her chest made it hard to breathe. Wendy composed herself, trying to greet the approaching trio casually. But Tyler Johnson completely ignored her, walking straight past with his companions to a van parked nearby. He called for the driver to get out and load the luggage into the back. As he pulled open the car door to get in, his eyes finally flickered towards Wendy. He muttered, "Try and pick up girls these days in a base model BMW that's worth less than $200? Wonder how many owners it's had. Seriously? There are still dumb women out there who only care about the car emblem." "Huh." Linda Carter couldn't help but burst out laughing. Wendy's expression froze. She remained stunned, somewhat dazed, even after the 3 had gotten into the van and driven away. Her boyfriend, still oblivious, urged, "Did they send you the address for dinner? Let's get in the car and go too." When he finally snapped back to reality, "Is this car really worth less than $200? She asked hollowly. Her boyfriend looked distinctly uncomfortable. "Why you care so much? It's still a BMW, isn't it? Didn't you brag to me that you spent 6 figures on it?" "Michael Thompson, I don't think you should call me classmate Olivia anymore." While Michael Thompson was driving, Olivia Sullivan, sitting in the passenger seat, suddenly said this with a serious expression. Michael Thompson glanced at her, smiling. "What's wrong? You don't like being called classmate Olivia?" Olivia Sullivan looked conflicted. "But I'm your girlfriend. Still calling me classmate Olivia just feels." She felt it wasn't intimate enough, even worried that others might mistake Michael Thompson for a fake boyfriend she'd hired. But she couldn't bring herself to say that part out loud. Michael Thompson thought for a moment. Then, "How about Big Beauty? Olivia Sullivan?" Question mark. She suddenly remembered hearing Michael Thompson call her that in his thoughts the first time. It was clearly his unique pet name for her. He almost never called her that to her face, though, always sticking to classmate Olivia, the same way he had before they started dating. "See? Changing it suddenly feels weird, right?" Michael Thompson said sheepishly, rubbing his nose as he watched her thoughtful expression. In his past life, he had called Olivia Sullivan Big Beauty. She'd gone from initial embarrassed resistance to quiet acceptance. After they married, if he didn't call her that often, she'd even get upset, asking if he didn't think she was beautiful anymore. A little headstrong, but also quite cute. In his past life, he and Olivia Sullivan had their own story, completely different from this one. It was still sweet and warm, but also held small regrets. Back then, Olivia Sullivan had endured many hardships with Michael Thompson. They had started from scratch, struggling together to build their business. But in this life, Michael Thompson had avoided many pitfalls and had no intention of letting Olivia Sullivan suffer again. He just wanted to shelter her from the storm and protect her as she grew. Their experiences were now drastically different, leading to a different story. Different, but still wonderful. Michael Thompson preferred it this way. At least Olivia Sullivan hadn't been beaten down by reality into becoming quiet and reserved. She still retained her innocent cheerfulness. So, in some ways, he didn't force things to be the same as his past life, including their terms of endearment. But Olivia Sullivan suddenly declared, "Let's go with that one. Call me that from now on." Michael Thompson paused. What? Am I not beautiful?" She flashed Michael Thompson a peace sign, a playful glint in her smiling eyes. Utterly adorable. Meanwhile, Wendy sat in her boyfriend's passenger seat, leaning her hand against the window, staring outside, unwilling to even look at the man beside her. But the man wouldn't stop rambling. "Your roommate's boyfriend is seriously loaded. Taking you guys to the grand ballroom for dinner? Geez, the minimum charge per table there must be at least $10,000, right? These rich people are disgusting." Wendy interjected coolly. "Didn't you always used to say you were rich too?" Her words left the man speechless. After a long pause, he mumbled defensively, "Well, there are different levels of rich, aren't there?" Wendy scoffed, not bothering to say anything more. But her scornful expression deeply wounded the man's pride. "What are you laughing at?" He slammed his hand on the steering wheel, his face instantly darkening. Wendy's temper flared too. "What? Does even my laughing bother you? You're useless, and I can't even say." Smack! Before she could finish, the sharp sound of a slap echoed in the car. Wendy clutched her cheek, which stung painfully, staring at the man beside her in disbelief. She never imagined he would actually hit her. "You bastard. Say one more damn word, and I'll kick you out of this car right now," he threatened harshly. Wendy was stunned for a long moment. Ultimately, she didn't dare make a scene, but tears of grievance streamed down her face. Now, she didn't want to go to dinner anymore, didn't want to compete with Olivia Sullivan over anything. She just wanted this day to be over. She deeply regretted agreeing to go to dinner tonight. Ultimately, how did things get to this point? Was it just because she had mocked Olivia Sullivan once? Just because she had badmouthed her behind her back? But the crucial point was, she was the one suffering this humiliation, while it seemed Olivia Sullivan and that Michael Thompson hadn't actually done anything. Or rather, hadn't even had the chance to. She just couldn't accept her own boyfriend's inadequacy, couldn't accept the huge gap between her boyfriend and Olivia Sullivan's. In the end, it was her own jealousy at work. Tonight's dinner was at the Boston Grand Ballroom. This renowned city hotel was owned by Samuel Gibson, a man Michael Thompson had met once before. Thanks to Michael, Samuel had avoided a potential loss of tens of millions. So, when Michael asked to borrow an exhibition hall in the Grand Ballroom, Samuel readily agreed. He even waived all fees and eagerly offered his assistance after learning Michael's purpose for the evening's banquet. Tonight's event wasn't merely about treating Olivia Sullivan's roommates to dinner. While Michael's initial intention was indeed to back Olivia up, he decided that if he was going to do it, he might as well go all out. Tonight, the Grand Ballroom was hosting a charity gala. Michael had poured considerable effort into organizing the evening's auction, pulling numerous strings and receiving help from many people. Howard Banks was the first to hear about Michael's plan. Realizing his protege was quite ambitious, Howard saw the charity gala as an excellent opportunity to elevate Michael Thompson's reputation. Thanks to Howard's influence, many prominent figures from the art and calligraphy world were attending tonight. Most notably, Howard Banks, who hadn't released new work in a long time, contributed one of his own orchid paintings as the grand finale piece for the auction. Meanwhile, old Mr. Arthur Sullivan, back in Riverside City, also learned of his prospective grandson-in-law's intentions. He lent considerable support, leveraging his extensive network within Boston's business community to invite numerous industry tycoons. He even contributed antique paintings and artifacts from his personal collection as auction items and handled the arrangements with the Red Cross. Neither of the elder gentlemen realized Michael's initial plan was simply to support his young girlfriend. They both assumed this grand gesture was a calculated move to build his own prestige. For an artist, reputation could sometimes be more crucial than technique, and Michael's skill had reached a level where seeking renown was the logical next step. His mentor, Samuel Shaw, certainly thought so. Shaw had originally envisioned a more conventional path for Michael, gradually making a name for himself by participating in competitions. He hadn't expected his protege to possess such strategic thinking, finding an alternative path like this. It was, Samuel had to admit, rather gratifying. When Michael Thompson arrived, he handed his car keys to the valet and escorted Olivia Sullivan into the grand ballroom. A polite waitress led them to the entrance of the banquet hall, a spacious area typically used for weddings or corporate galas, large enough to accommodate 30 or 40 tables. "Come on, let's get you changed," Michael said. "Change?" Olivia looked down at her casual attire, confused. Michael smiled and explained, "Tonight's a rather formal occasion. They won't even let you in without proper attire." "Isn't it just dinner with my roommates?" Olivia asked, surprised, then slightly flustered and annoyed. "You didn't tell me earlier." I didn't bring anything." "It's okay. I prepared a few options in advance." Michael had intended this as a surprise and had naturally made preparations. He led Olivia into an adjacent room, simply converted into a changing area. Racks lined the walls, hung with exquisite men's suits and luxurious women's gowns. Michael casually picked out a suit and began changing. Seeing Olivia browsing the gowns, he told her, "Those are rented. I bought one specifically for you." "You bought it?" Olivia felt a flicker of disappointment. She had half hoped he might have designed and made one for her himself, like last time. But this time was rather rushed. Even if Michael had wanted to, there wouldn't have been time. After changing into his suit, Michael retrieved a box from behind the racks. Opening it, he took out an evening gown. It was white, strikingly plain, without a single embellishment. Honestly, it wasn't particularly attractive. Yet, Michael, with typical male cluelessness, asked, "Do you like it?" I like it," Olivia replied, her expression stiff. "Try it on." "Okay." Olivia reluctantly changed into the gown and looked at herself in the mirror. It fit perfectly. Michael clearly remembered her measurements, having chosen the size specifically for her. She had excellent proportions, a natural clothes horse who looked good in anything. Even this plain white gown highlighted her pure and captivating beauty. Keeping her expression carefully neutral, Olivia nodded. "It's all right." Michael couldn't hold back any longer and burst out laughing. "You're frowning so hard your eyebrows are practically knitting together. How can you say something so obviously untrue?" Olivia puffed her cheeks and glared at him. Seeing she was about to get genuinely angry, Michael quickly amended, "Don't worry, I'll touch it up for you." Under Olivia's puzzled gaze, Michael produced ink and brushes from seemingly nowhere. "All right, stand still. Let me think." Olivia finally understood what Michael intended. Was this guy actually planning to paint a design onto her dress himself? "Wow, this hotel looks so fancy. A meal here must cost a fortune, right?" Elsewhere, Tyler Johnson and the other two roommates, Linda Carter and Laura, had also entered the grand ballroom. Linda was gawking like a wide-eyed tourist, looking around and murmuring in amazement. Laura was more composed, but her eyes still betrayed her curiosity. Tyler Johnson grinned. "Don't worry, Michael got it comped." Linda stared. "Is Olivia Sullivan's family that powerful in Boston?" Tyler looked confused. "What does this have to do with Olivia? This is all Michael's clout." Laura couldn't help but ask, "Didn't you just say Michael Thompson comes from an ordinary family?" "He does, but Michael himself isn't ordinary," Tyler said earnestly. "You'll understand once you get to know him. Michael Thompson, he's something else." After searching for the right word, he landed on something else. There were things about Michael that even his Ivy League classmates didn't know, things Tyler had only learned through his father. Word about the prodigious talent of Howard Banks's new protege was already spreading through Boston's elite circles. No wonder he could date an it girl like Olivia Sullivan. When Tyler led the two young women to the banquet hall entrance, they were stopped by security personnel who reminded them of the formal dress code. Laura and Linda started to panic. No one had mentioned needing formal wear, and, as ordinary university students, they didn't exactly own gowns or suits. However, Michael had already briefed Tyler Johnson, who reassured them without missing a beat. "It's fine, Michael's got it all covered. Let me take you to the changing room." He led them to the changing room. Pushing the door open, they were greeted by a jaw-dropping scene. Olivia Sullivan was sitting on a low stool, her eyes filled with tenderness as she watched Michael Thompson kneeling before her. Michael, brush in hand, was utterly focused, painting intricate designs onto the hem of her gown. The originally plain white dress was now completely transformed. A flowing black and white ink wash painting, depicting mountains and rivers, used the gown as its canvas. What was once an unremarkable dress had become a veritable work of art, elevated to an entirely different level. Laura and Linda Carter both covered their mouths in astonishment. They only knew Olivia Sullivan's boyfriend was a student at the Rhode Island School of Design and had heard Olivia mention Michael Thompson was very good at painting. But was this just the realm of very good? This was insanely talented, off the charts. What was this? It was just too romantic. Just as Michael Thompson was engrossed in his painting, he suddenly felt someone gently touch his head. He looked up curiously at Olivia Sullivan, only to see her shyly gesture towards the door with her eyes. Only then did he notice Tyler Johnson and the others standing there. He greeted them casually. "Oh, you're here? Go ahead and pick yours out. I'm almost done here." Su Ling sidled closer, her eyes gleaming. "Michael Thompson, could you paint one for me too?" Olivia Sullivan's face immediately tensed up, and she instinctively grabbed Michael Thompson's sleeve. She didn't want Michael Thompson painting for other girls. Michael Thompson grinned and said, "Nope, sorry. This is an exclusive perk for my girlfriend." "Would you mind switching girlfriends then? Having an extra one works too." "I don't mind." Seeing Olivia Sullivan's expression gradually turn unfriendly, Michael Thompson wiped away some sweat. Are college girls these days always this forward? If he kept joking around cheekily with Su Ling now, he probably wouldn't be getting into Miss Olivia Sullivan's room tonight. So he straightened up. "Seriously, no, can do. The other dresses are rentals, and messing them up means paying for damages." Stingy, Su Ling pretended to pout, but she was just kidding. Soon, she was happily picking out gowns with Laura again. Both girls were quite excited. Even though the gowns on the rack were just rentals and not particularly special designs, neither of them had ever really worn anything like this growing up. They'd only seen such things on TV, so getting to try them on today definitely made them thrilled and happy. After finishing the painting, Michael Thompson put away his art supplies. Tyler Johnson leaned in close and whispered, "Michael, on the way here I said everything just like you told me to." Michael Thompson smiled. "All right, thanks for the trouble. Right, when that chubby girl and her boyfriend get here later, should I give them another put down?" "No need. Embarrassing people here is just too low class." "But Michael Thompson, it doesn't seem like you've done anything then. Did you really just invite people over for a meal?" Tyler Johnson frowned, not quite understanding Michael Thompson's plan. Michael Thompson patted his shoulder. "Looks like your comprehension skills still need some work, young man. Watch closely and learn well. It'll be useful later." Seeing Tyler Johnson was still confused, Michael Thompson gave him a hint. "I'll just say one thing. These rented gowns are all one size fits all." After saying this, he stood up, took Olivia Sullivan's hand, and said to the still puzzled Tyler Johnson, "All right, I'm heading to the venue first. Samuel Shaw just messaged, hurrying me." Only after Michael Thompson left with Olivia Sullivan did Tyler Johnson belatedly realize what Michael Thompson meant. He murmured, creating a situation of differential treatment under seemingly equal conditions. Thinking about it this way, the methods he'd used to deliberately embarrass people really were crude. He suddenly felt there was indeed a lot he could learn from Michael Thompson, and not just about painting. Wendy and her boyfriend arrived at the grand ballroom quite late due to an argument they had on the way. They found the ballroom using the address Olivia Sullivan gave them, but they were stopped by the staff at the entrance before they could go in. "Sorry, you can't enter without an invitation." "What do you mean? Someone invited us to dinner tonight." Wendy's boyfriend was indignant and started arguing with the staff. The staff member maintained a professional tone. "Sir, we're just following the rules. Besides, tonight's event requires formal attire. Weren't you notified beforehand?" The man's face alternated between pale and flushed. He turned angrily to Wendy. "Did you get the place wrong? Inviting a few people from your dorm for dinner. Does he need a place with dozens of tables like this? Is he made of money or something?" Wendy, still smarting from the earlier fight, stayed silent now, but she also felt like Olivia Sullivan had played a trick on her. She took out her phone, intending to demand an explanation. But amidst her anger, she also felt a sense of relief. She hadn't wanted to attend the party tonight anyway, and this seemed like the perfect excuse. But before she could reach Olivia Sullivan, Tyler Johnson, now dressed in a handsome suit and accompanied by the two girls in beautiful gowns, came over. He said to the staff, "It's all right. They are indeed our guests. Let them in." The staff member recognized Tyler Johnson and nodded without further comment. When he looked at the three of them, Laura and Linda Carter were already prettier than her, and the difference was even more pronounced now that they were wearing beautiful gowns. Her boyfriend, standing beside her, had a lecherous look on his face. He didn't even glance at her, his eyes glued to Laura and Linda Carter as he said, "Oh, excuse us, we didn't realize tonight was so formal. I didn't even bring out my designer brands." Tyler Johnson initially wanted to retort sarcastically, but remembering Michael Thompson's words, he calmed himself and said, "There are outfits prepared in the changing room next door. You can go pick something out. Just remember to return them afterward." The man thanked him and led a sullen-faced Wendy towards the changing room. Only then did Su Ling purse her lips and remark, "Designer brands, yeah right. The boyfriend Wendy found is cut from the same cloth as her. Loves showing off." No wonder they ended up together. Tyler Johnson nodded in agreement. I think so too. So many idiots. But Laura suddenly interjected. Did you guys notice when his cheek looks a bit swollen? Isn't her whole body swollen? Su Ling's insensitive remark made Tyler Johnson laugh thoughtlessly. Laura shook her head, not dwelling on it. The three of them entered the ballroom together. Inside the ballroom, it was already packed with guests. Michael Thompson had the backing of old Mr. Banks and old Mr. Sullivan. The two elders were well connected, and many people had come tonight to show their support. Howard Banks was also present tonight. He was still worried that Michael Thompson was too young to handle the situation, so he had come personally to oversee things. Right now, he was talking with staff from the Red Cross. Tonight was a charity auction, so all the money raised would be donated under the supervision of the Red Cross. He had a few old friends with him, and the atmosphere was pleasant. Strange, where's that rascal? Howard Banks wondered while chatting with his friends, noticing Michael Thompson hadn't arrived yet. Tonight was a rare opportunity, with many prominent figures from the art world and business giants in attendance. He planned to properly pave the way for Michael and expand his network. Just as he was thinking this, Michael Thompson arrived with Olivia Sullivan. The moment the two of them entered, they instantly became the center of attention. Michael Thompson was handsome, young, and a rising star in the Boston art scene. More notably, he was the direct protege of Howard Banks, the contemporary, national treasure-level master of traditional Chinese painting, bound by a close master-apprentice relationship. Tonight's gala was organized under his lead, and many seniors in the calligraphy and painting circles, aware of this emerging figure, cast curious glances his way. However, most eyes fell not on Michael, but on his companion, Olivia Sullivan. Dressed in an abstract art gown, she looked like a fairy descended to earth, ethereal, untainted, and captivatingly innocent. Michael Thompson's art appealed to all tastes, pursuing a grand beauty recognized by the world. Consequently, his works invariably became the center of attention wherever they appeared. Furthermore, his painting technique had already reached a master's level. Each brushstroke captured a spiritual essence that deeply moved onlookers. Olivia Sullivan, truth be told, felt a bit dazed after entering the banquet hall. Today, wasn't Michael supposed to be treating her and her dorm mates to dinner? Why were there so many people? Seeing Howard Banks there made Olivia even more incredulous. Had her boyfriend pulled another one of his stunts? She turned, ready to interrogate Michael, but he was already walking towards Howard Banks, hand raised in greeting. Samuel Shaw. Howard Banks, who had been speaking with someone, turned at the call. As he did, he stared blankly at Olivia for a moment, recognizing at a glance whose handiwork adorned her gown. He looked somewhat speechlessly at his protege and asked, "You painted this?" "Yeah. You certainly know how to please girls." Howard Banks felt a touch helpless. His protege was brilliant in every way, except he wouldn't focus on the proper path, instead indulging enthusiastically in these elaborate, showy tricks. Olivia had to suppress her confusion and politely greeted the master. "Hello, Grandpa Howard Banks." "Olivia, you're here too." Although Howard Banks often wore a stern expression for Michael, he was always amiable towards Olivia. He smiled and nodded, then introduced the friends beside him. "Let me introduce you. This is Raymond Lewis, president of the Boston Traditional Chinese Painting Association. This is Zachary from the Calligraphy Association. This is Taylor, a master of Hudson River School landscape painting. And this is Chong Fong, deputy director of the Boston Cultural and Tourism Bureau." Birds of a feather flocked together. These friends of Howard Banks were all major figures in the national calligraphy and painting world. Michael Thompson showed no reservation, warmly calling them aunt and uncle as if he'd known them forever. The big shots responded with smiles, appearing quite approachable. It had to be said, Howard Banks' influence still carried weight. Howard Banks introduced Michael to them. "This is my protege, Michael Thompson, whom you all know. Just a rascal. He'll need you all to look out for him in the future." "Come on." Taylor, the Hudson River School master, retorted jokingly. He was around Howard's age, and they seemed the closest, speaking bluntly. "If your young master here is a rascal, then the ones in my family must be demons. You should be secretly thrilled to have a protege like him." Howard Banks just smiled, clearly pleased inwardly. Then he introduced Olivia. "This is Arthur Sullivan's granddaughter. She and my protege are quite close." Arthur Sullivan of Riverside City was a name relatively well known in art circles, even in Boston. This wasn't due to old Mr. Sullivan's own artistic achievements, but purely because he loved associating with arts and culture and was notoriously willing to spend generously on them. In other words, to everyone present, he represented a valuable patron. The others, who had initially focused on Michael Thompson and paid little heed to his companion, a young, successful man having a beautiful girlfriend, was perfectly normal, now looked at Olivia differently upon hearing she was old Mr. Sullivan's granddaughter. Their tone became much more courteous. Although Olivia was rather shy, she wasn't intimidated by the situation. She handled herself gracefully and managed to engage in polite conversation. After a few minutes of pleasantries, Michael noticed someone at a nearby table discreetly waving at him. An acquaintance. He turned to Howard Banks. "Samuel Shaw, my friends are here. I'll head over and not disturb your reunion." Howard Banks waved dismissively, unconcerned. "All right, you young folks go have fun. By the way, Elizabeth Shaw is over there dealing with the media. Remember to go say hello later. She puts more effort into your affairs than her own." "Okay, I'll go say hi in a bit." Go on. "Vanessa, is that designer you mentioned really attending tonight?" Inside the banquet hall, at a table filled exclusively with celebrities, Fan Yuyao was fielding the excited questions of the young woman beside her. The girl pestering Fan Yuyao was Sophia. Just past 20, she was an idol who had shot to fame on a variety show, leveraging her cute looks and talent for singing and dancing. In the entertainment industry, some toil for a lifetime without success, while others become overnight sensations. Sophia belonged to the latter group. She had starred in several TV dramas over the past 2 years. Initially dismissed as just another pretty face, an unconventional idol relying solely on looks, she had surprised everyone with decent acting skills, successfully transitioning into an actress. Fan Yuyao frowned, impatience etched on her face as Sophia clung intimately to her arm. "This little bitch is really annoying." Ever since Fan Yuyao caused a massive stir walking the Hollywood Walk of Fame in that starry night gown, Sophia had latched on her. The damn girl relentlessly badgered her for the designer's name, obviously hoping Michael Thompson would design a gown for her too. As if Fan Yuyao would let this little bitch steal her thunder. Besides, Michael had already stated he wasn't taking any more fashion design commissions, so she hadn't told Sophia, naturally. But Sophia was stubborn, completely unfamiliar with the concept of giving up. She bombarded Fan Yuyao constantly on Messenger and WeChat. After being blocked, Sophia actually lowered her asking fee to force her way onto the cast of the movie Fan Yuyao was currently filming, parachuting in as the second female lead. Consequently, Fan Yuyao had been forced to endure Sophia's presence daily for nearly 6 months. Coincidentally, Michael Thompson had called Fan Yuyao a couple of days prior, asking for help contacting some journalist friends and, as a courtesy, inviting her to the gala. He'd assumed she'd be too busy, but Fan Yuyao accepted immediately and brought Sophia along. The last time Fan Yuyao had asked Michael for another gown, her enthusiasm had been met with a cold shoulder. That kid had a fickle temper, and it had thoroughly infuriated her back then. And now, Sophia wanted to meet Michael Thompson? Fine, Fan Yuyao thought inwardly, let this little bitch get a taste of it too. Thinking of this, Vanessa smoothed the impatience from her face, adopting a professional smile. "He's the one hosting tonight's gala," she said with a smile. "You'll see him soon enough." Just as she spoke, she suddenly heard gasps of admiration ripple through the crowd. Vanessa and Sophia both instinctively looked toward the entrance. Entering the banquet hall were none other than Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan. "Oh, her dress," Sophia gasped, covering her mouth lightly. "It's absolutely gorgeous. That's exactly my style." Olivia Sullivan's gown wasn't intricately designed. It was a simple, solid-colored dress, lacking even embellishments like fringes or pleats. But the landscape of Rolling Hills landscape depicted solely in black ink gave it an air of understated elegance and otherworldly charm. Vanessa recognized the designer's handiwork instantly. No one but Michael Thompson could have designed something that so perfectly captured and complemented Olivia's unique aura. She remembered the golden phoenix embroidery gown from Olivia Sullivan's birthday gala, the incredibly lifelike phoenix painstakingly embroidered with pure gold thread. That had been truly stunning. Watching Olivia Sullivan intimately link arms with Michael Thompson, Vanessa muttered under her breath, "This guy, he certainly has a romantic touch." Now she could understand why Miss Sullivan was so utterly smitten with Michael Thompson. Talent really does let you get away with anything. Vanessa! Sophia tugged at Vanessa's sleeve, asking excitedly, "Was this dress made by that designer too? Didn't you say he wasn't taking commissions anymore? If he made this for her, does that mean I could commission one from him too?" Vanessa hid a smile. "Can you even compare yourself to Miss Sullivan? She's Michael Thompson's girlfriend. And who are you?" But she maintained her smile and nodded. Perhaps. You could always try asking. Is the designer here? He is. Really? Sophia's eyes lit up, and she eagerly scanned the banquet hall, craning her neck. Where is he? At that moment, Michael Thompson was making his way over to where Howard Banks stood, engaging him in conversation. Vanessa gave Michael Thompson a subtle wave. He noticed and returned a brief nod. Sophia didn't miss the small exchange. Her gaze shifted towards Michael Thompson, but she instinctively glanced away almost immediately. It hadn't crossed her mind that the designer of the famed Starry Night gown would be so young. Sophia's gaze quickly shifted to Howard Banks amidst the group, as he seemed to be the focal point of their conversation. He's that old, she muttered, slightly surprised. She hadn't imagined such an elderly gentleman could design dresses with such a modern, youthful appeal. Vanessa overheard her and had to suppress a chuckle. She didn't bother correcting her, however, as she saw Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan approaching. Well, if it isn't the superstar, Michael Thompson greeted Vanessa with familiar ease, a teasing smile on his face. Didn't realize you had time for little events like this. You didn't really have to come, you know. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Michael Thompson, you really have a knack for using people and tossing them aside, don't you? After chewing me out and blocking me last time, you had the nerve to ask for my help. I put all that aside and helped you, and now you're trying to kick me out? Hey now, how could I do that? Every guest is welcome. Michael Thompson said, sounding completely insincere. I'm thrilled you could make it. Previously, during an interview, Vanessa had practically spilled his entire life story, everything short of reading out his ID number, which had caused the first real argument between him and Olivia Sullivan. Because of that, Michael Thompson had unblocked Vanessa, chewed her out thoroughly, and then promptly blocked her again. This state of affairs continued until the day before yesterday, when Michael Thompson came up with the idea for tonight's charity gala. Realizing he needed some media connections, he thought of Vanessa again, fished her number out of his block list, and called the superstar. He wanted her help contacting familiar faces in the media. As for their past animosity, well, that was water under the bridge, wasn't it? No point bringing it up now. Clearly, Vanessa didn't share that sentiment. The sight of Michael Thompson still made the superstar grit her teeth in annoyance. Nevertheless, she had been a great help. All the media personnel tonight were here thanks to her connections, guaranteeing there wouldn't be any trashy or scandalous reporting about the event. Of course, her help hadn't come free. She'd initially tried to get another custom gown out of him, but Michael had refused. After some haggling, they'd settled on him designing a bespoke piece of jewelry for her instead. Fashion and jewelry design had been Michael Thompson's specialties in his past life, so he was comfortably in his element. He planned to simply choose a commercially successful design from his previous life's portfolio, have it crafted, and give it to Vanessa. As Michael Thompson chatted with Vanessa, Olivia Sullivan stood beside him, her expression a little tense, occasionally darting wary glances towards the actress. Even though she knew Michael had absolutely no romantic interest in Vanessa, well, Vanessa was stunningly beautiful and a superstar. Crucially, Vanessa seemed to perfectly match Michael Thompson's apparent type. Tall, statuesque, and incredibly curvaceous, with captivating, almond-shaped eyes that held a sophisticated, seductive charm. Olivia Sullivan decided this was a serious issue. She absolutely had to steer Michael Thompson's incorrect aesthetic preferences back onto the right path. He should prefer petite, adorable types. Like herself, for instance. Standing slightly behind Michael Thompson, Olivia Sullivan unconsciously knitted her delicate brows, her lips pressed thin as she stared intently at Vanessa. Vanessa, mid-conversation with Michael, noticed Olivia's intense gaze. She paused for a split second before a knowing smile touched her lips. So Miss Sullivan gets jealous easily, does she? Vanessa thought, deciding it would be fun to tease the cute young woman. Oh, by the way, Michael. Vanessa deliberately leaned closer to him, angling as if to whisper something private in his ear. A flash of panic crossed Olivia Sullivan's face. She swiftly grabbed Michael Thompson's arm, hugging it tightly to her chest as she eyed Vanessa defensively. Michael Thompson shot a surprised look at his tense girlfriend, then back at Vanessa, whose poorly hidden smirk screamed mischief. He rubbed his forehead wearily. Are you actively trying to add fuel to the Thompson family drama? Vanessa put on an innocent expression. Whatever do you mean? I don't understand. I just had something I wanted to tell you that wasn't for everyone's ears. It's fine. Anything you have to say to me is perfectly fine for everyone else to hear. Michael Thompson shot back instantly, cutting off her dangerous line of suggestion. You're nearly 30, he added, exasperated. Could you please try acting your age? Michael Thompson. Vanessa visibly bristled, his comment striking a nerve. She couldn't stop herself from shouting back, flushed with anger and embarrassment. She was only 28. 30 was still ages away. While Michael Thompson and Vanessa were talking, Olivia Sullivan was pulled aside by Sophia. "Oh dear, where did you get this gorgeous dress?" Sophia asked, taking Olivia Sullivan's hand, her eyes bright as she admired the gown. Sophia was actually around Olivia's age, but Olivia had a youthful look, leading Sophia to assume she was much younger and address her familiarly from the start. Olivia Sullivan didn't mind. She studied Sophia's face for a moment, then suddenly said, "Ah, aren't you?" Sophia's heart leaped. She thought Olivia Sullivan had recognized her. Looks like she was getting famous after all. Whenever she went out with Vanessa, people only ever recognized Vanessa, leaving her feeling like a sidekick. It couldn't be helped. Although Sophia's fame had grown recently, she was still no match for the superstar Vanessa, both in terms of recognition and experience. With a touch of reserve, Sophia nodded. "That's right, you're Tong Ming Yao, right? I saw your movie, Love of the Blue Crystal. I really liked it." Olivia Sullivan exclaimed, looking thrilled. Sophia's expression darkened instantly. "Tong Ming Yao? What the hell? And wasn't Jessica Sullivan the star of Love of the Blue Crystal? What did that have to do with her, or Tong Ming Yao?" She didn't even know where to begin correcting her. Still, it wasn't entirely Olivia Sullivan's fault for mixing them up. Actresses in the entertainment industry often shared a similar type of beauty, and Sophia, Tong Ming Yao, and Jessica Sullivan had even made headlines before for their resemblance. Add the difference between on-screen appearances and real life, and it was perfectly normal for Olivia Sullivan to make a mistake. Sophia's smile couldn't have been stiffer as she started to explain, "Actually, I'm not. That's right, I am Tong Ming Yao." Sophia did a complete 180, changing her tune in the blink of an eye. Right now, nobody on earth could tell her she wasn't Tong Ming Yao. She quickly pressed, "Dear, was your dress designed by the same designer who made the Starry Sky gown for, well, me?" Olivia Sullivan glanced towards Michael Thompson and nodded. Sophia followed her gaze, but Howard Banks happened to be standing right behind Michael Thompson, so Sophia assumed Olivia was looking at Howard Banks. She quickly asked, "Are you very close with the designer?" Olivia Sullivan smiled shyly. "He's my boyfriend." Sophia's smile froze again, her brain stalling for a second. She looked towards Howard Banks and gasped in disbelief. Her gaze towards Olivia Sullivan filled with pity, and she couldn't help but advise, "Honey, you're still so young. Is this really necessary? Is it true love?" Olivia Sullivan stared, looking at Sophia strangely. What? What did she mean? Did she have her eye on Michael Thompson? Was she trying to persuade her to break up with him? Sophia continued earnestly, "I know this might not be appropriate, but I think you should find someone more suitable." Olivia Sullivan was silent for a moment, then said hesitantly, "Are you interested in him too?" Sophia was completely bewildered. Why was this girl looking at her like that? Did she really think Sophia wanted to fight her over an old man? Feeling a bit indignant, Sophia retorted, "Even if that guy is loaded, why would I be interested in an old man?" Her raised voice caught the attention of Michael Thompson and Vanessa, who hadn't been paying attention before and now looked over. Olivia Sullivan, who had been slightly annoyed, instinctively glanced at Michael Thompson upon hearing Sophia's words, wondering inwardly, does Michael really look that old? What's wrong? Michael Thompson, concerned about Olivia Sullivan, quickly walked over. Olivia immediately looped her arm through his, looking him over carefully with a hint of worry. "He looks perfectly handsome, doesn't he?" Michael Thompson glanced at Olivia, who didn't seem to have been bullied. Then he looked at Sophia and paused slightly. "Aren't you that?" "I'm not Tong Ming Yao," Sophia blurted out first. Michael Thompson nodded vigorously. "I know you're that. Jessica Sullivan, right?" "Sophia, what is wrong with these people's eyes?" Michael Thompson put his arm around Olivia Sullivan and smiled. "Oh well, it doesn't matter who you are. But were you having some sort of disagreement with my girlfriend just now?" "No, I was just..." Sophia started to explain that she was only offering well-meaning advice, but then she processed his words and her voice jumped 2 octaves. "Girlfriend..." Michael Thompson turned to Vanessa. "Is the bar for stardom really this low nowadays?" The implication was clear. He was insulting Sophia, suggesting any Tom, Dick, or Harry could become a star. Vanessa covered her mouth, hiding a smile. Michael Thompson really didn't hold back, she thought. Sophia's face flushed bright red. She obviously understood Michael Thompson's jab. She looked at Olivia Sullivan accusingly. "Didn't you say your boyfriend was the designer of the Starry Sky gown? You lied to me." Olivia Sullivan quickly shook her head. "I didn't lie. Michael Thompson designed it." "How is that possible? He's so young." Sophia instinctively refused to believe it. Michael Thompson looked far too young. But Vanessa nodded gently. It was him. Sophia was momentarily speechless. She pointed towards Howard Banks, who was confirming the menu with a nearby waiter. Then, who is he? Michael Thompson replied, That's my Samuel Shaw. Sophia finally realized what a massive blunder she'd made, her face flushing crimson with embarrassment. She covered her face, unable to look up. She didn't manage to exchange another word with Michael Thompson before he was called away. After Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan left, Vanessa looked at the mortified Sophia and teased, Weren't you hoping Michael Thompson could design a dress for you? That was a perfect opportunity just now. Why didn't you talk to him? He definitely thinks I was bullying his girlfriend. Sophia groaned, deeply now. How could I dare say anything else? It was so humiliating. So you're just going to let it go? I can't just let it go. Sophia thought hard for a moment, unwilling to give up just like that. She decided against approaching Michael Thompson again. However, shifting her focus instead. She turned to Vanessa. Vanessa, she began, if Samuel Shaw's protege is that talented at such a young age, wouldn't Samuel Shaw himself be even more incredible? A peculiar expression flickered across Vanessa's face. She wanted to laugh, but managed to hold it back. If she remembered correctly, Michael Thompson Samuel Shaw was a master of traditional Chinese painting, right? A very accomplished one, at that. But making clothes, did that Samuel Shaw know anything about it? Vanessa, deciding to indulge in a bit of mischief, didn't correct Sophia. Instead, she smiled sweetly. I'm not too sure about that, but you could certainly try asking him. Okay. Sophia nodded firmly. This Samuel Shaw must be even better. I'll go talk to him right now. She eagerly got up from the table, heading off to strike up a conversation with Howard Banks. Just how baffled Howard Banks, a master painter revered as a national treasure, would be when asked if he could make someone an outfit. Well, that's a story for later. Slow down. Wait for me, Wendy pleaded, struggling as she entered the banquet hall. Stuffing her figure into the one-size-fits-all gown had been an ordeal. The dress was clearly struggling to contain her. Unfortunately, the organizers had only provided form-fitting gowns tonight. It had taken considerable effort for her to squeeze into it, and the flesh around her waist bulged uncomfortably. When he didn't dare walk quickly, terrified the seams might burst, she could only mince along cautiously, step by painstaking step. Her boyfriend, Sean, watched impatiently, a hint of disgust rising within him as he took in her comical figure, trussed up like a sausage. Once they were inside the hall, they found it bustling with guests mingling and exchanging pleasantries. Neither Wendy nor Sean had expected such a large-scale event. Well, Mr. Wilson. Just then, Sean's eyes lit up. He spotted someone he knew among a group chatting on a sofa. This Mr. Wilson was a major tycoon, worth tens of millions. What a surprise to see him here tonight. Sean hurried over to curry favor. Mr. Wilson, fancy seeing you here. What a coincidence. Mr. Wilson looked at him, slightly surprised. He recognized the man as a supervisor from a friend's company, someone with little ability who'd landed the position solely through the connections of his sister, who had married well. Normally, Mr. Wilson wouldn't have given Sean the time of day, but he was mildly surprised to see him at an event like this. Sean, are you here with your brother-in-law tonight? Sean shook his head. No, my girlfriend's roommate invited us for dinner, so I came along. He hadn't even wanted to come initially, but now he was glad he had. Opportunities to exchange even a few words with someone like Mr. Wilson were incredibly rare for him. Mr. Wilson glanced at Wendy beside Sean, his brow furrowing slightly. Are you sure you're in the right place? A friend sitting with Mr. Wilson chuckled. Even if they weren't, they wouldn't have gotten in. Sean, is your girlfriend from Harvard University or Rhode Island School of Design? Sean didn't recognize Mr. Wilson's friend, but anyone sitting with Mr. Wilson had to be a big shot of similar stature. He replied politely, yet with a touch of pride, My girlfriend is from Harvard University. He was actually quite proud of having a girlfriend from Harvard. If it weren't for Wendy's diploma, he wouldn't have given her looks a second glance, thinking she resembled a pig, when he quickly plastered on a smile. Mr. Wilson's friend remarked, Then you're in the right place. Isn't Arthur Sullivan's granddaughter also at Harvard? Weren't Arthur Sullivan and Howard Banks the ones who organized this gathering tonight? Recognition dawned on Mr. Wilson. He looked at Wendy, his expression softening into a smile. Well now, young lady, quite impressive, getting into Harvard University. The shift in his attitude was stark. Initially cold, he had only exchanged pleasantries with Sean out of basic courtesy, paying Wendy no mind at all. But hearing she was associated with that Arthur Sullivan's granddaughter through her dorm suddenly made him much warmer. Wendy, however, froze, muttering, Arthur Sullivan's granddaughter. Sue, could it be Olivia Sullivan? She asked tentatively, Mr. Wilson, the Mr. Sullivan you mentioned. Is he Arthur Sullivan from Riverside City, of course. Surely you've heard of Green Valley Market? His business reaches overseas. He's not in the same league as small-time bosses like us. Then Arthur Sullivan's granddaughter. Is her name Olivia Sullivan? Is that her name? Mr. Wilson wasn't sure and turned to his friend. The friend nodded. Yes, that's her name. I attended her Sweet 16 party at the Sullivan estate. I heard she's recently gotten involved with Samuel Shaw, the protege Howard Banks just took under his wing. Such a pity. When I saw her back then, I thought she was gorgeous. I even hoped my son might have a chance. Haha, give it up. Your son? Forget about it. I've heard about this Samuel Shaw. He's no ordinary person. As the two men chuckled, when he couldn't hear them anymore, she couldn't take it. All this time, when he had secretly looked down on Olivia Sullivan, she thought Olivia just used her pretty face to snag a rich second-generation boyfriend, spending his money lavishly on the most expensive makeup, the priciest purses, and designer clothes, all while pretending to be wealthy herself. Wendy assumed Olivia was actually just a broke girl showing off. Otherwise, why would she suddenly have stooped to working at a diner through a work-study program a few days ago? The rich boyfriend must have cut her off, Wendy had thought. Holding on to this belief had allowed Wendy to feel superior, looking down on Olivia with disdain. But now, to be suddenly told that Olivia Sullivan was actually a genuine heiress, and not just any rich kid, but a Ms. Sullivan from an incredibly wealthy family, Wendy couldn't accept it. Didn't this mean she lost in every comparison? In reality, no one was comparing them, but Wendy was obsessively competitive, always measuring herself against others. If she saw someone prettier, she had to find out about their family background. If the other person wasn't as wealthy as her family, she'd feel consoled, smug, and dismissive. She had truly mastered the art of psychological victory. But with Olivia Sullivan, she fell short in every aspect. Looks, family background, academic performance. Even her boyfriend couldn't compare to Olivia's. She suddenly recalled all the malicious things she had said about Olivia behind her back recently. It all seemed so laughable now. Overwhelmed, Wendy's face darkened. Combined with the discomfort of the tight dress, she suddenly felt breathless. Her mind went blank, her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. Sean had still been shamelessly trying to schmooze with Mr. Wilson and his friend when he felt a movement beside him. Hearing a thump, he turned to see Wendy collapsed on the floor. The fall caused the already strained dress to rip open with a loud schlick, exposing her completely and making an utter spectacle of herself. Wendy, what's wrong? Chaos erupted as people nearby rushed over. Meanwhile, backstage, Michael Thompson was reviewing the auction items with the hired auctioneer. The inventory had already been checked and catalogs distributed to the guests, but a final check before the start was necessary to ensure nothing was missing or damaged. During the auction, when a guest makes a bid, remember to announce their identity clearly. Company name and position, understand? Boss, I know all these tricks like the back of my hand. Don't worry, I've memorized the guest list for tonight, the auctioneer assured him, patting his chest. He then asked curiously, but isn't tonight a charity event? Even if you use these tricks to drive up the prices, the money doesn't go into your pocket, right? I know, Michael Thompson said with a smile. But the announcement brings family honor. So will my girlfriend or I bid? You know how to announce it, right? Understanding finally clicked for the auctioneer. He gave an okay sign. No problem. You can count on me. There were 4 people backstage. Michael Thompson, the auctioneer, and a representative from the Red Cross. Olivia Sullivan was there too. Not being very adept at social situations, she stuck close to Michael Thompson wherever he went, like a little shadow. Besides, her grandfather, Arthur Sullivan, had donated quite a few pieces from his collection to tonight's auction. Since the old gentleman was back in Green Valley, Olivia, as his granddaughter, was effectively his representative with a right to oversee things. Knowing she didn't understand any of it, however, she had fully entrusted Michael Thompson, content to just be a pretty face standing quietly to the side. Michael Thompson was speaking with the auctioneer. Olivia, feeling a bit bored, pulled out her phone to kill some time. But as soon as she did, a notification popped up, making her gasp, "Ah." Michael Thompson immediately looked over. "What's wrong?" Staring at her phone, somewhat stunned, Olivia Sullivan said, "Laura and Linda Carter said something just happened to Wendy." "What?" Michael Thompson was startled too. Although he didn't care about Wendy, he was the host of tonight's gala. If someone had an incident, he would bear some responsibility. He quickly asked what happened. She just suddenly fainted. Someone called 911, and she's being taken to the hospital. As Olivia Sullivan was speaking, she abruptly stopped. Laura sent her a photo, a picture of Wendy when she fainted and fell. Her already tight-fitting gown had ripped open completely. It was extremely indecent. Seeing her suddenly staring silently at her phone, Michael Thompson leaned closer, trying to see. What is it? A sudden illness? It'd be a real hassle if she died here. When Olivia Sullivan saw him approaching, she quickly hid the phone against her chest, turning away awkwardly. It's nothing. She should be fine. Laura said she woke up before the ambulance even arrived. Although she wouldn't show Michael Thompson, someone sent the picture directly to him. Michael Thompson's phone buzzed. It was Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson led with the photo, followed by a gloating message. Michael, that chubby girl really made a fool of herself this time. So many people saw, and reporters too. Michael Thompson glanced at the photo, then at Olivia Sullivan, who was fidgeting and hiding her phone. He found it slightly amusing. It seemed he wouldn't have to lift a finger. Tonight's embarrassment was a profound enough lesson for Wendy. He thought for a moment and asked, Is she all right? Yeah, she woke up, but she couldn't stay. Cried and left before the ambulance even got there. Probably too ashamed to stick around. See if you can find her. After all, it happened at my event. Have someone take her to the hospital for a checkup. I'll reimburse the costs. Seriously, Michael? You really know how to kick someone when they're down, don't you? Tyler Johnson sounded excited. All right, I know just how to handle this. I'm on it. Michael Thompson read the message, speechless. He truly hadn't intended to kick her while she was down. Frankly, she was just a rather jealous young woman pulling a stunt. A small lesson was sufficient. But he couldn't be bothered to explain, letting Tyler Johnson do as he pleased. Putting his phone away, Michael Thompson stopped paying attention to the matter, refocusing on the night's auction. The evening's charity gala proceeded smoothly. Aside from some peers from the art world, the attendees were mostly wealthy tycoons who bid generously. Coupled with the charitable cause, many items fetched prices far exceeding their actual value. This was why many painters and calligraphers were willing to donate their works free of charge, even though the money wouldn't end up in their pockets. For instance, if a painting originally worth maybe 300 yuan sold for $300, the artist could henceforth claim their work was valued at $300. It was an effective way to gain publicity and build reputation. Michael Thompson also had several works up for auction, some stone sculptures, and a few paintings. Apart from some antiques and calligraphy, every other piece presented at tonight's auction was the work of a modern master. For Michael Thompson's works to be auctioned in such company undoubtedly placed him on an equal footing with these masters. If anyone else had done this, they would inevitably face criticism from their peers. But not Michael Thompson. His own skill had already reached a master's level, and more importantly, his teacher was Howard Banks. This was where the importance of a good mentor became apparent. Watching his pieces fetch good prices one after another, Michael Thompson felt a surge of emotion. He recalled his past life, his first solo exhibition in China. Almost everyone in the circle had attacked him. Comments like an insult to the learned and "you're not worthy to talk about art" were rampant. The root cause was simply that Michael Thompson, an outsider with no backing, could earn in a month what those self-proclaimed purists couldn't earn in a year. He attracted envy and had no connections. Who else would they pick on? But in this life, Michael Thompson would only turn 20 after Christmas. Yet, here he was, presenting his works alongside master creations in such a formal public setting, and not a single person dared to utter a word of criticism. Instead, they would marvel, Howard Banks truly took in a prodigy, the younger generation is truly formidable, or the new generation surpasses the old. The people hadn't changed. They were the same crowd, but their stance had. Why? Because Michael Thompson was a student at the Rhode Island School of Design, the direct disciple of National Treasure painting master Howard Banks, and the grand disciple of National Treasure sculptor and Wu School landscape master Samuel Shaw. His close ties with these two National Treasure masters, one from the South and one from the North, had transformed him into someone with impeccable connections and background. Listening to the surrounding discussions, Michael Thompson couldn't help but smile. It was a smile tinged with mockery, yet also with a hint of self-deprecation. How interesting. Once the auction concluded, the Red Cross representative came over to personally thank Michael Thompson. They stated that the funds raised tonight would be used to build Hope primary schools in impoverished mountainous regions. Michael Thompson's team could monitor the entire process to ensure all funds were used appropriately, and progress reports would be constantly provided. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Michael Thompson saw the Red Cross representative off. Howard Banks quickly found him. There's a small gathering later tonight. Come have dinner with me. I'll introduce you to some people. All right. Michael Thompson didn't overthink it. Howard Banks often took him to such dinners, mostly not for him to meet people, but for others to know he was Howard's disciple. Howard Banks continued, "Tonight's a good chance to sort out your entry into the association. And one more thing." He hesitated for a moment, then said tactfully, "The president of the Artists Association and the director of the Cultural Bureau will be there later. They should have some influence regarding this year's National Young Artist Competition selection." On the surface, Howard Banks seemed to be offering to pull strings for Michael Thompson. But in reality, he wasn't the type of person to do such a thing. His question was purely a test of Michael Thompson's character. A master-apprentice relationship like theirs wasn't just about passing down skills. It was more akin to gaining a family member, involving the teaching of character and life principles. Michael Thompson didn't overthink it. He simply assumed Howard Banks wanted to help him cut corners. He scoffed, "Samuel Shaw, that's a bit insulting." Howard Banks's interest was immediately piqued. "How so? I believe I can win first place fair and square. If I had to rely on connections to get an award, I'd rather toss in the gutter. Even if you handed it to me, I wouldn't give a second glance." Michael Thompson stated this emphatically, and it wasn't just posturing for Howard Banks. It came straight from the heart. Satisfaction flickered in Howard Banks's eyes, but he deliberately pushed further. "What if someone has more talent than you? What if you can't get first place? Then I accept it. I'll just work harder and see if I can catch up. And what if it's like Zhuge Liang and Zhou Yu, a genius you can never surpass? I'd accept that too, and work hard to secure my position as number 2. It was indeed a tragedy to be born in the same era as a genius one could never hope to surpass. But Michael Thompson had a very philosophical outlook in this life. If such a rival truly existed, he might actually find it quite interesting. Howard Banks was just posing a hypothetical, but he hadn't expected Michael Thompson to be so zen about it, leaving him slightly speechless. He paused, then asked again, "What if someone takes first place from you not through skill, but through connections? Right now, while your Samuel Shaw, am still around and have some influence, if you just tell me, I'll do everything I can to get that first place back for you. Would you take it?" "No. Why not? It should rightfully be yours. Someone else used connections to take what wasn't theirs. You'd just be using connections to reclaim what's yours. Isn't that justified?" Michael Thompson smiled. "An award where rankings can be changed through connections is garbage anyway. It's not worth having." Howard Banks sighed. "Some things, you see them too simply. But most things in the world should be this simple. It's people who make them complicated," Michael Thompson replied decisively. In Howard Banks's eyes, he was young and naive, still possessing the idealism of a newcomer. But in truth, Michael Thompson had seen too much. In his past life, chasing fame and fortune, he had done plenty of things he should and shouldn't have. In this life, however, he chose a more detached path. While he still desired fame and fortune, he didn't need much, just enough. Why should he compromise his principles? If you bloom, the breeze will naturally come. Although Howard Banks found Michael Thompson's answers overly idealistic, he was satisfied, truly satisfied. Despite Michael often being unreliable and overly chatty, his core remained untainted by the world, like a lotus emerging from mud. He felt he had taken on a good disciple. Patting Michael Thompson's shoulder, he smiled and said, "Forget it. I'm not going to tonight's event, and neither should you. We don't have to go. Some other time. The National Young Artist Competition is about to start. If word gets out now that I took you to dine with these people, it won't look good," Howard Banks said. "If you want a clean reputation, you need to understand the principle of avoiding suspicious situations." Hearing this, Michael Thompson immediately brightened. "Samuel Shaw. Then Olivia and I will head off." Howard Banks was both amused and exasperated. He waved a hand dismissively. All right, go on. Bring Olivia Sullivan to the Thompson family for lunch tomorrow, got it?" "Got it." He watched Michael Thompson bolt off and disappear in a flash, shaking his head with amusement. As he turned to find his wife and head home, a figure suddenly stepped out and blocked his path. Sophia had been waiting nearby for quite some time. She hadn't wanted to interrupt the master and apprentice while they were talking, but now she finally seized her chance. "Samuel Shaw, may I ask a favor of you?" Howard Banks saw it was a rather pretty young woman blocking him. However, he rarely watched television and didn't recognize Sophia, the idol-turned new generation actress. Hearing she wanted a favor, his brow furrowed instantly, but he asked politely, "What is it?" Sophia's eyes sparkled. "Could you possibly make me a gown? You're Michael Thompson, Samuel Shaw. You must be able to make something even better than Starry Sky, right? Howard Banks was completely dumbfounded. A gown? Make clothes? What did he know about that? He was practically an old man with one foot in the grave. Even mending his own socks was a struggle. However, Howard Banks quickly registered the phrase Michael Thompson's Samuel Shaw in Sophia's words. He recalled a report about Vanessa's gown that had circulated through his school recently, causing the entire art department to search for the student who made it. Hearing this now, had his apprentice picked up another side hustle besides sculpting? That wayward brat. How could he be so talented in every field he touched? Howard Banks felt a mix of pride and exasperation towards Michael Thompson, wanting nothing more than to grab the kid right then and demand answers. He said to Sophia, "Miss, you got the wrong person." "Impossible. Aren't you Michael Thompson Samuel Shaw? If the apprentice is so amazing, the Samuel Shaw must be even more incredible." Sophia seemed a bit single-minded. Then, realization dawned on her. "Oh, are you worried I can't afford it? Don't worry about that. I might look young, but I have quite a bit of money. I heard from Vanessa, $50,000 up front. How about I give you $50,000? That brat earned $50,000 for making one dress." Howard Banks was momentarily speechless. Honestly, although Michael Thompson's painting had reached a master level, his earnings from painting probably didn't match what he made from dressmaking. Was making money off women really this easy? Seeing the anticipation brimming in Sophia's eyes, Howard Banks said helplessly, "I'm his Samuel Shaw who teaches him painting, not dressmaking." Sophia fell silent. Howard Banks thought he had finally cleared things up and was about to leave when he heard Sophia exclaim again, as if struck by another revelation. "I understand. You're testing me, right? Howard Banks? Question mark. I know, masters like you wouldn't agree so easily. But that's okay. I'm very patient." Sophia clenched her little fists, her face full of earnest determination as she gave herself a mental pep talk. "Howard Banks, don't spread rumors. Weren't you supposed to attend that dinner tonight?" Michael Thompson, blissfully unaware of the major headache he'd left for his Samuel Shaw, was currently driving Olivia Sullivan home. Olivia Sullivan asked with some curiosity. Michael Thompson kept one hand on the steering wheel, resting the other on the open window frame. He grinned. "What's fun about eating with a bunch of old guys? Obviously, eating with my beautiful girl is much better. Did you eat enough earlier?" Food had been provided at the event, and it was quite high-end. But Michael Thompson noticed Olivia Sullivan had barely touched her chopsticks, likely feeling reserved around so many strangers. Olivia Sullivan nodded. "I'm full. Is that so? Well, I'm still hungry, so I was planning to grab some kebabs. Since you're full, maybe I should take you home first." Just as Michael Thompson finished speaking, Olivia Sullivan immediately clutched his arm. He looked over with a smile to see her staring at him, her small face serious as she said, "Take me with you." After that day, Michael Thompson's life returned to normal. Olivia Sullivan had officially launched the TaskRabbit app. Harvard University, impressed by the concept she presented, was very cooperative, even providing significant support, including free banner ad space at a campus gala and a free spot for an embedded ad on Campus Connect. The campus newspaper also ran a story, encouraging students looking for part-time work to download the TaskRabbit app. Michael Thompson hadn't been idle either. After crafting a dragon pattern bracelet for Vanessa, he asked the entertainment industry superstar for a small favor. She helped connect him with the Green Valley Daily newspaper, securing a small block ad in that day's edition to help build the app's reputation. Vanessa adored the bracelet Michael Thompson designed and agreed readily. She even arranged for a TV crew to visit Harvard University for an interview, which aired on the evening news. Things were progressing smoothly for Olivia Sullivan. Students from a prestigious university like Harvard were highly sought after in the tutoring market. Now, almost any Harvard student looking for tutoring work, aside from those already running private practices, thought of Olivia Sullivan first. TaskRabbit quickly monopolized the Harvard market. Elite Education Group hadn't yet realized Michael Thompson's underlying strategy for building the app and was quite pleased with the development. From their perspective, it seemed like Elite Education Group had effectively monopolized Harvard's tutoring resources, providing an excellent entry point into the capital city's K-12 education market. A very promising start. Olivia Sullivan's success also brought unexpected benefits for Claire Evans and Jake Wilson at Capital Normal University. Initially, Claire and Jake couldn't persuade their university administration to give them an embedded ad spot on their Campus Connect. However, when the university leaders heard about the TaskRabbit app created by Harvard students, they suddenly realized their own students were part of the team behind it. The Capital Normal University leadership immediately sought out Claire and Jake. After confirming their involvement, they promptly decided to offer their support. 3 months passed quickly, and most universities were approaching the Christmas break. Olivia Sullivan had been very busy the past couple of days, working on TaskRabbit's quarterly report. Michael Thompson had initially proposed TaskRabbit as a nonprofit app, stating it wouldn't generate income. This condition was key in persuading the Harvard administration when Olivia Sullivan was negotiating for resources. Preparing quarterly financial reports was another measure Michael Thompson had suggested Olivia proactively offer, assuring the university leaders. However, once Olivia started, just calculating things like gross and net profit left her feeling overwhelmed. Although she was majoring in finance, she was still just a freshman and hadn't learned many things yet. While applying what she knew, she often encountered unfamiliar territory and had to call her university professors for help. Right now, she was sitting on the living room floor of their home, wearing cute bear pajamas with her hair held back by a pink headband. Hunched over the coffee table, she stared intently at her laptop screen, her brow furrowing occasionally as her fingers clicked the mouse. She had a face mask on, a consequence of pulling several late nights, looking very much at home. Michael Thompson came out of the kitchen holding a glass of milk. He walked over to Olivia, placed the milk beside her, and said softly, "Take a break. You've been busy for days. Aren't you tired?" "I'm tired, but I have to go home in a few days, so I need to finish this before then. I should be able to wrap it up today, though." Olivia peeled off her face mask and took small sips of the milk. Michael wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, resting his chin gently on her shoulder. "Does that mean I can sleep in your room tonight?" he teased. Because Olivia hadn't been resting well, Michael had tactfully given her space, sleeping in a separate room. Olivia's face instantly flushed crimson. She lowered her head, silently sipping her milk, the tips of her ears turning pink. No refusal meant tacit agreement. That was Michael Thompson's interpretation. He released her happily. "What do you want for dinner tonight? I'll make you a feast to reward you. Let's talk about dinner later. I need to ask you something." Olivia shifted sideways, patting the floor beside her, indicating for Michael to sit down. The floor was covered with a soft wool carpet they had put in after moving in. Olivia had bought it because Michael often walked around barefoot at home, and she worried about his feet. Michael sat beside her. "What is it? Look at this." Olivia pushed the laptop towards him. Michael leaned in and glanced at the financial report, noting the income figures for the past few months. This month, just at the Harvard campus, we had about 300 registered users on the app, with around 100 relatively stable part-time workers. On average, each person worked about 16 hours per month. Tutoring wages are $200 to $300 per hour. Elite Education Group, and we take a combined 20% cut. We get 0.5%, and Elite Education Group gets 1.5%. Olivia began meticulously listing the key information from the report. Michael then realized what Olivia had been busy calculating these past few days. He had actually already discussed it with Henry. They were working on enabling online payment functionality for the app. The next step was to try and persuade Elite Education Group to direct their client base to the TaskRabbit app, allowing customers to place orders and pay online directly through the app, with the backend automatically calculating the commission splits. This approach offered several advantages. First, the current model involved Elite Education Group collecting money from clients first, deducting their share, then giving the remainder to Olivia, who would take her fixed percentage before distributing the rest to the student tutors. However, this method left financial control with Elite Education Group. To put it bluntly, no one knew the exact amount they charged the clients. For instance, on a $300 per hour tutoring gig, they could easily report a lower figure, say $250 to their agents, and no one would be the wiser. While Elite Education Group had a decent reputation, this business model had significant flaws. It was remarkably outdated and primitive. Michael's goal was to shift the financial control to TaskRabbit. The percentage allocated to Elite Education Group wouldn't change, but the client flow would transform from client, Elite Education Group, TaskRabbit, tutor to client, TaskRabbit, tutor, cutting out the Elite Education Group intermediary step. Essentially, Michael was sticking to his idea of delete educationification. Every move was designed to build TaskRabbit's independent reputation. Second, once the app's online payment system was active, the backend could directly track data like gross profit and net income. This would not only increase transparency, but also significantly reduce Olivia's workload. And the most crucial point, only after the online payment model was launched could Michael initiate the next phase of his plan. Michael Thompson's idea was sound, but he didn't know when Elite Education Group might catch on. Perhaps the moment he suggested it. that fellow Leon would figure out his intentions. Never underestimate your opponent. Michael knew this well. He hadn't survived years of navigating the ups and downs of the business world by relying on luck. He always prepared for the worst. So, Michael had already decided. The instant elite education group sensed his true goal, he'd turn hostile, kick them to the curb, and try partnering with other educational institutions. His original vision for founding Chi Eli wasn't to be a mere subsidiary of elite education group, but to create an independent brand for student part-time jobs. Cutting ties now, however, was still a bit premature. Chi Eli was barely established, lacking any real foundation. Its only edge was university backing, but that alone made seeking partnerships with other platforms on equal footing incredibly difficult. Of course, the ideal scenario was persuading elite education group without raising suspicion, and Michael was confident he could pull that off before making a move. Michael's mind raced with possibilities, so many that Olivia Sullivan, who had been eavesdropping beside him, was taken aback. She hadn't considered nearly as much. Just as Michael was lost in these thoughts, he noticed Olivia had suddenly gone quiet. He glanced over quizzically, finding her staring at him, mouth slightly agape, in astonishment. "What's wrong? You were saying?" Olivia snapped back to reality, quickly continuing, Right. We earn a total of $50,000 over these 3 months. What should we do with the money?" $50,000 in 3 months averaged out to over $16,000 or $17,000 a month, an almost unimaginable sum for a typical university student. While the money wasn't a huge amount to Olivia personally, it was the first income she'd earned through her own efforts, leaving her absolutely thrilled, almost dizzy with excitement. But how to spend it became a puzzle. Michael had declared early on that Chi Eli would operate under the banner of being non-profit initially. Handling this profit, therefore, was tricky. Knowing Michael had his own plans, Olivia sought his opinion. Michael didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked, "What about Claire, Evans, and Jake? They didn't earn as much as we did, but still around $30,000, I think." Although they were all university tutors, Harvard students commanded higher hourly rates than students from other universities. After all, it was one of the nation's premier institutions. Olivia added with a hint of worry, "Claire, Evans, and Jake don't have any objections to the nonprofit idea, but Michael, is this really okay?" Jake Wilson trusted Michael Thompson unconditionally. Whatever Michael said, went. He simply believed his buddy wouldn't screw him over. Claire Evans, however, did have some reservations. She had grumbled a few times, not quite understanding Michael's approach. Claire's thinking was straightforward. She wanted a part-time job in college to earn some spending money for cosmetics, bags, and the like. But with Michael shouting the non-profit slogan, did that mean all her hard work was essentially for free? Still, since both Jake Wilson and Olivia Sullivan supported Michael Thompson, she reluctantly went along with it. Olivia hadn't mentioned this to Michael. She didn't want any unpleasantness between her boyfriend and her best friend. Michael shook his head. No need for that. Let them take their earnings normally. On the financial reports, list the money distributed to them as employee compensation, recorded as a standard operating cost. Michael thought for a moment, then added, "Let's set their salary at $3,000 per person per month. I'll talk to Jake Wilson and Claire Evans about this later. If they want to entrust the extra amount to me for operations, fine. If not, I'll cover the difference myself." "Cover it yourself," Olivia murmured, slightly astonished. "Won't you be losing out too much?" Michael chuckled, amused. "You think I'm losing out?" Olivia nodded. "Then you don't understand. If it weren't Jake Wilson and Claire Evans, I'd even draft contracts for them." He started teaching Olivia something practical. But the traps hidden in those contracts would change their status from founders to hired employees the moment they signed. As we earn more and more down the line, they'd still be stuck with the fixed salary stipulated in the contract, maybe getting a small performance bonus at best. So many schemes. Olivia stuck out her tongue slightly. Michael continued, "But there's no need to play these games with our own people. I'll explain everything clearly to Claire Evans and Jake Wilson and let them choose. Either trust me unconditionally or become salaried employees. Regardless of their choice, we'll report the money distributed to them as employee expenses on this financial statement for now." Olivia nodded, indicating she understood, then furrowed her brow. "So, what do you plan to do with the money we've earned?" "Use it for promotion and rebates. There should be about $60,000 left. Probably not enough. We'll likely have to chip in more. We still need to invest more money." Olivia exclaimed in surprise. Michael gently pinched her nose. "You have to speculate to accumulate. Think long-term. Now we just wait for Henry. Once he gets things sorted on his end, we'll all have dinner together. I'll explain the specific operations in detail then." Olivia pouted, muttering discontentedly. Can't you tell me first? Well, he leaned closer to Olivia's ear and whispered with a soft laugh. I'll come to your room tonight and tell you. Slowly, blushing, Olivia playfully punched his arm. Honestly, a few days later, in a private room at a hotel restaurant on the commercial street near the university campus, Michael Thompson was passionately laying out his plans and vision. Our current priority is to continuously build the reputation of the Kai Eli brand. We need to expand our user base of part-time students and attract our own clients. Within the next year, we must establish our name in the Boston tutoring market, becoming the top choice for parents seeking tutors and the preferred platform for university students looking for tutoring jobs. We're still in the fledgling stages, so all initial profits will be reinvested into promotion. I have an idea for this. Cashback rewards. We'll set up various tasks, like in online games, where completing a task earns different rewards. Register on the app, get a cash reward. Invite a friend, get a cash reward. Complete a tutoring job, get a cash reward. If the friend you invited completes a tutoring job, you still get a cash reward. Simultaneously, we'll start implementing a star rating system for tutors. For each job completed, we'll give a bonus to 1-star tutors and a different bonus to 5-star tutors. This also allows parents to choose suitable tutors based on their desired price range, with better tutors naturally commanding higher rates. Furthermore, we need to launch our own tutor training program. We can't just let people start working without any experience. Currently, we rely on elite education groups training, but later we can select a few 5-star tutors, sign employment contracts with them, and make them our dedicated training instructors. We need independence and autonomy, while also effectively leveraging existing resources. Michael Thompson's approach was a classic playbook that businesses would later adopt widely. Strategies used by various food delivery platforms and eBay had become commonplace over time. But back in 2011, these tactics were remarkably novel. Claire Evans and Jake Wilson listened, completely bewildered. None of this sounded familiar. Even Olivia Sullivan, a finance major herself, was taken aback. She knew Michael Thompson had many ideas, but she hadn't realized he'd thought things through so extensively and so far ahead. I have a question. Claire Evans raised her hand. Following your method, when do we actually start making money? It wasn't that Claire was overly materialistic. She was involved primarily for the potential earnings, making profitability her main concern. Michael Thompson chuckled. There's a company whose annual financial reports show losses exceeding $100 million, yet its market value keeps soaring. It went from begging someone to buy it for 3 million yuan to going public and selling shares, reaching an overall value in the tens of billions. Would you say it's making money or losing money? Claire Evans frowned, pondering the meaning behind Michael Thompson's words. Michael continued directly, besides, this whole thing is ultimately small potatoes. I never planned to rely solely on this for income. You know what I do? I'm an artist, remember? Above the vulgarity of money. He made a joke, but apart from Jake Wilson offering a couple of polite chuckles, the two girls ignored him. Claire Evans cut straight to the point. Just tell us what you want to do. Michael Thompson awkwardly rubbed his nose, saying sheepishly, nothing much, just expand the Kai Eli brand's influence, wait for the right offer, find a loan shark or someone to buy us out, sell the whole package, and we can all retire comfortably and split the cash. You plan to sell it from the beginning? Claire Evans was astonished, finding it hard to believe. After we've put in so much effort, Michael Thompson stated plainly, Olivia Sullivan and I can't manage this forever. Once we step back, can the two of you handle it? He wasn't genuinely interested in this line of business. If he truly wanted to start a company for profit, he could have continued with his high-end luxury goods and made a fortune within a few years. Why bother with this? This venture was primarily for Olivia Sullivan to gain experience, with Michael indulging her whim. It also served to educate Olivia on the intricacies of running a business, hoping she wouldn't stumble over similar hurdles if she decided to start her own venture later. But Olivia Sullivan wouldn't stick with this long-term. Her choice of international trade and economics as her major indicated her underlying ambition to eventually take over from Arthur Sullivan and shoulder the responsibility of the Sullivan family. When that time came, Michael Thompson would revert to being that laid-back artist. After this brief entrepreneurial stint, he'd return to his art, spending his days at home with kids, painting, sculpting, and sipping goji berry tea. Claire Evans was momentarily speechless, then said stubbornly, I think I could give it a try. My scorched earth strategy, you want to try that? One misstep could mean millions in debt. Are you sure? Michael's approach was indeed aggressive. Purely investing without generating immediate returns meant significant upfront capital. It was inherently a short-term, quick-profit maneuver. A larger company could leverage Kai-Eli perfectly as a subsidiary brand, but if Claire took over, the probability of losing money was extremely high. Claire Evans fell silent. Her family background was average. Her parents worked abroad. There was no way they could come up with that kind of money. Olivia Sullivan glanced at Claire, then tugged at Michael Thompson's sleeve, whispering, "Can't you phrase things more nicely?" Michael Thompson sighed and sat up straight. Having thrown cold water, he switched to encouragement. "Don't get fixated on just this. If you want to pursue this industry, once we make some money, I can help you and Jake figure out other paths." Claire Evans knew her limitations and recognized the truth in Michael's words. Reluctantly, she nodded in agreement. Jake Wilson, however, was indifferent. Honestly, he'd only joined because Claire had dragged him in. Plus, he trusted Michael Thompson completely. Whatever Michael said, went, he wouldn't let his buddy down. He asked, "Michael, I'm with you. But what's our next move?" "Just keep doing what you've been doing. I'll handle the rest." Michael Thompson took charge, then addressed the others. "All right, let's put this aside for now. Today is a reunion. Let's eat, drink, and enjoy ourselves." Soon, it was time for the holiday break. Olivia Sullivan's presentation of the quarterly financial report to the Harvard officials went smoothly. Although the Harvard officials were surprised by the substantial amount allocated to promotion, they didn't probe further after Olivia explained it was aimed at helping more people. Henry also reported back to Michael Thompson, confirming that the Kai-Eli app's online payment function would be live before the Thanksgiving dinner. He assured Michael that other requested features like the rating system and cashback rewards were also manageable. This former gaming lounge regular had barely been seen there lately. He was more enthusiastic about making money than anyone. Michael not only paid him a monthly retainer for app maintenance, but also additional fees for developing new features. This spurred Henry on like he was high on adrenaline, eager to work overtime every day. Furthermore, before leaving Boston, Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan personally visited Leon at the Elite Education Group. They proposed allowing users to make payments directly through their app. Despite considerable discussion and numerous assurances, Elite Education Group wasn't easily persuaded. Leon agreed conditionally, demanding that Olivia Sullivan, as the representative of Kai-Eli, sign an agency contract with Elite Education Group. Due to the previous betting agreement, although Kai-Eli and Elite Education Group were collaborating in a de facto upstream-downstream relationship, no formal agency contract had been signed. Michael Thompson naturally couldn't agree to this and resorted to stalling tactics, proposing to discuss it further after returning to school following the new year. The negotiation fell through, leaving Olivia Sullivan slightly frustrated, but Michael Thompson remained unfazed. This outcome was within his expectations. However, there was good news. Before Michael Thompson returned to Green Valley, the results of the National Young Artist Competition were announced. Michael's painting, Home, had won the gold medal. Although the results weren't public yet, Howard Banks had received insider information. The delighted old man dragged Michael Thompson out for a night of bourbon and conversation. During the Christmas period, Olivia Sullivan debated whether to stay home with her grandfather or spend Christmas at Michael Thompson's house. The dilemma resolved itself quickly when Michael Thompson directly invited Arthur Sullivan to celebrate Christmas at his family's home. Reportedly, when the Sullivan family members returned home for Christmas and found the old man missing, they were stunned. The most bewildered was Samuel Sullivan. Upon inquiring, he learned that his father had gone to his daughter's fiancé's house for Christmas. He was completely dumbfounded. Since when did his daughter have a fiancé? How could he, the father, be completely unaware? Further inquiries revealed that this fiancé was none other than Michael Thompson, the young man who had saved his father's life and was his daughter's high school classmate. Samuel Sullivan was initially displeased, feeling the Thompson family's humble background wasn't a suitable match for his daughter. However, Arthur Sullivan had made the decision, rendering Samuel's opposition futile. As long as Arthur Sullivan was alive, his word was law in the Sullivan family. Samuel Sullivan's opinion didn't matter at all. With Arthur Sullivan visiting the Thompson family, the parents from both sides met for the first time. They immediately began discussing the young couple's marriage. Olivia Sullivan listened, her face flushed with embarrassment, while Michael Thompson remained completely at ease, even participating enthusiastically in the discussion, delving into wedding details. On New Year's Eve, watching her boyfriend animatedly debating with her grandfather whether to have a Chinese-style or Western-style wedding, Olivia Sullivan couldn't help but smile happily. Meeting Michael Thompson was truly wonderful. In the blink of an eye, 2 years flew by. Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan were now juniors in college. Around them, Classmates were already busy preparing for job hunts or graduate school applications. Michael Thompson remained characteristically laid back, though the art world had certainly taken notice of him. He'd held his own solo exhibitions over the past 2 years, gaining momentum that seemed unstoppable. Even before graduation, he had already earned considerable fame. Olivia Sullivan was also making plans. She intended to study abroad and was currently researching suitable universities. Michael Thompson would be going with her. But before that, the very first thing after graduation would be their marriage. As for Kayla, that matter had also been properly resolved. After Michael Thompson employed stalling tactics initially, intentionally dragging his feet after the New Year celebration and never contacting Elite Education Group, things began to change. At first, Elite Education Group didn't think much of it. But as Michael's strategy significantly boosted Kayla's reputation, he started reaching out to other platforms for collaboration, deliberately letting word leak back to Elite Education Group. That finally made them panic. By then, Kayla had amassed 50 to 60,000 registered users, reaching universities across Boston. Although some of that number was inflated by the new user cashback bonus, it was undeniable that Michael Thompson had genuinely built the brand. Initially, Elite Education Group resorted to warning letters from lawyers, demanding Olivia Sullivan and Michael Thompson sign an agency contract, even threatening a lawsuit. Ordinary university students might have been intimidated by this combination of threats. But Michael Thompson was a sly old fox. What tricks hadn't he seen? He completely ignored them, continuing as he pleased. In the end, Elite Education Group realized a lawsuit would be time-consuming and costly, with little chance of gain. They finally yielded, offering to acquire Kayla. This was the moment Michael Thompson had been waiting for. Kayla, originally valued at $3 million, was bought by Elite Education Group for a premium price of $5 million. Consequently, even before graduating, Claire Evans and Jake Wilson became young millionaires in their own right. As for Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan, it didn't affect their lifestyle much. They continued living as they always had. Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan still lived in their original apartment. However, Michael had earned a substantial amount over the past 2 years and bought the place directly from Tyler Johnson. Although Boston real estate prices were somewhat exorbitant, Tyler Johnson gave him a friend price, making it acceptable. The apartment had now truly become their little love nest. Although they would likely return to Green Valley to settle down eventually, Michael's mentor, Samuel Shaw, was in Boston. Owning a property here for occasional visits was still a good idea. Claire, listen to me. As Michael Thompson came downstairs, he saw Olivia Sullivan sprawled on the sofa, excitedly chatting on the phone with Claire Evans. Over these 2 years, Claire Evans and Jake Wilson had finally gotten together. Whether it was affection growing over time or a secret relationship all along, they only openly admitted they were dating to Olivia and Michael last year. As for Emily Thompson, she was still the same as in Michael's past life, a restless bird without feet, going through boyfriends like harvesting leeks in autumn, none lasting long. Emily remained cheerful and seemingly unbothered. She had partnered with a friend to open a smoothie shop near her university. Business was good, bringing in tens of thousands in profit each month, allowing her to live quite comfortably. Sensing Michael had come downstairs, Olivia exchanged a few more words with Claire and then hung up. Michael sidled up to her. "Let me have a kiss." Olivia playfully pinched his cheek, feigning slight disgust. "You just woke up? Have you brushed your teeth?" "I have. Check if you don't believe me." "All right, let me check then." The morning kiss was like a routine. Only this time, halfway through, Olivia's expression suddenly changed. She pushed Michael away. "Ugh, Michael." Olivia covered her mouth, gagging dryly several times before rushing towards the bathroom. Michael stared after her, utterly bewildered. He breathed into his palm, slightly doubting himself, and sniffed. "Didn't I brush my teeth properly? Was it really that bad?" He waited quite a while, but Olivia didn't come out. Growing worried, he went to the bathroom door and knocked gently. "Gorgeous, are you okay?" After a moment, Olivia emerged, looking a bit pale. She stammered, asking Michael, How long has it been since?" 35, 36 days, I think." Michael remembered, even more clearly than she did. He reached out to touch her stomach. "Is your stomach hurting?" Olivia always suffered from severe cramps during her period, her face turning pale with pain. Michael usually massaged her belly to ease the discomfort. Olivia blushed and dodged his hand, hesitating for a long while. She tugged on Michael's sleeve, prompting him to bend down slightly, then whispered in his ear, "Can you go to the diner and buy me that thing? Don't they sell pads at the supermarket?" "No, not that." Olivia grew anxious, holding it in for so long her face turned red, before finally whispering a word. It's... what? A pregnancy test. Michael heard clearly this time. His expression froze instantly. He stared blankly at Olivia, his gaze slowly drifting down to her belly. The next moment, as if jolted awake, he bolted towards the door. I'll go buy it right now. In his haste, he tripped on his way out, but scrambled up immediately, completely unfazed, and continued running. Watching his flustered state, Olivia couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle softly. She rarely saw Michael Thompson this panicked. When Michael returned with the item and handed it to Olivia, he watched her enter the bathroom. Why isn't she out yet? He paced anxiously back and forth in the living room, his emotions indescribable, feeling as though every second stretched into an eternity. The weather wasn't particularly hot today, yet sweat beaded on his forehead, his hands and feet restless. After what felt like forever, the bathroom door finally opened. Michael rushed over immediately, asking impatiently, "How is it?" Olivia clutched her stomach, looking slightly troubled, and chided gently, "Don't scare the baby." "Bah, baby." Michael's mind instantly went blank. He stared intently at Olivia's stomach, speechless. I really... Olivia shyly covered her face and held up the pregnancy test for Michael to see. Michael's hands trembled as he took it. He stared at the two distinct red lines, nearly identical in shade, rubbing his eyes and looking several times to make sure he wasn't mistaken. Olivia asked worriedly, "You'll want this child, right?" She believed Michael was a responsible man, but they hadn't even graduated from college yet. Her worries were clearly unnecessary. Michael excitedly cupped her face and gave her a deep kiss, then began to dance around, laughing loudly. "I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be a dad." His reaction was ecstatic, almost delirious with joy. Seeing him nearly beside himself with happiness, Olivia's anxieties melted away. She watched him fumble for his phone and asked, "What are you doing? This good news, I can't keep it to myself. Everyone must share my joy." Without a second thought, Michael started making calls. "Dad, I'm going to be a dad. No, I'm your son. I wasn't cursing at you." Watching Michael eagerly share the news, Olivia felt a little shy, but also blissfully touched her own stomach. "There's a little baby. Mine and Michael's little baby." Olivia's pregnancy was no small matter, neither for the Thompson family nor the Sullivan family. After Michael called home to announce the happy news, his parents bought plane tickets to Boston the very same day. Margaret Thompson insisted on coming personally to oversee her daughter-in-law's diet and daily care. But someone acted even faster. Upon hearing the news, Elizabeth Shaw immediately had Michael and Olivia move back in with her, making it easier for her to take care of Olivia. Accompanied by Elizabeth Shaw, Olivia went to the hospital for a detailed checkup, confirming the pregnancy. "I really didn't expect Olivia to get pregnant so quickly," Claire Evans remarked, having rushed over at the first opportunity. She stuck close to Olivia, curiously trying to listen to her belly, and said happily, "Olivia, I want to be the godmother." Olivia gladly agreed. "Okay." Michael Thompson and Jake Wilson watched from the side. Michael teased, "Jake, you should work harder too. Get the career woman pregnant soon. Maybe our families can become in-laws in the future." Jake Wilson smiled awkwardly. Nearby, Claire overheard and retorted loudly, "Michael Thompson, don't try to push him. I'm different from Olivia. I'm a career-driven woman. I don't want to get pregnant so early." Perhaps her previous entrepreneurial success had boosted her confidence. She was now fully aspiring to be a strong, business-minded woman. Michael whispered to Jake Wilson, "Tough talk now, but once she has a child, she'll probably be more devoted than anyone." Jake Wilson smiled without comment, then turned to ask, "Michael bro, are you and Livy Sullivan still planning to marry after graduation?" Olivia looked over curiously as well. She and Michael hadn't discussed this yet. Although the original plan was to marry after graduation, now that she was pregnant, Olivia's thoughts had shifted slightly. However, Michael just laughed it off evasively at that moment. "Well, we'll see." After the gathering ended and everyone left, Michael was tidying up while Olivia sat in the living room, tears silently streaming down her face. When Michael came out of the kitchen and saw her crying, he was startled and rushed over. "My dear little ancestor, what's wrong?" He quickly tried to wipe away her tears, but Olivia caught his hand, looking up at him pitifully. "Do you not want to marry me anymore?" "Who said that?" Then just now, when Jake asked, Olivia wished Michael had answered more decisively, more straightforwardly. But just as she was feeling upset, a hand suddenly appeared before her, palm open, revealing a small box containing a handmade ring. Olivia instantly forgot her tears, staring blankly at the ring. Michael looked away, scratching his cheek. I never said I didn't want to marry you. I want to marry you right now. It's just, shouldn't I ask your opinion first about when we get married? This ring. I finished making it last year. I originally planned to wait until graduation day, but I specifically brought it out today. He took the ring, knelt on one knee, and looked at Olivia with sincere eyes. So, will you marry me? So, will you marry me? Olivia finally understood. Michael had planned to propose to her today, all along. In an instant, all unhappiness, all grievances vanished. She wiped her tears and held out her hand. Seeing Michael hesitate, she whispered, "What are you waiting for? Put on me quickly." A joyful smile spread across Michael's face. "Does this mean you accept? No matter when, I'm always willing," Olivia said, unable to hold back her shyness. "You should have said so earlier, silly." Her gentle rebuke, however, made Michael ecstatic. He held the ring, slowly sliding it onto the ring finger of her left hand. A marriage beginning here. The end.